The Adventures of the Ingenious Gentleman Don Quixote de la Mancha by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. Adapted for radio in 2 parts by John Arton, with Bob Grant as Don Quixote, Bernard Crivens as Sancho Panza, and Ronald Badley as Cervantes. Part 1.
In a certain village in La Mancha called Argamasilla de Alba... Oh, no, dear, no. In a certain village in La Mancha, of which I do not remember the name, I do not choose to remember the name. Oh, indeed, I remember it only too well, and I refuse absolutely to exalt that dreary settlement by presenting its crude identity on the very first page of my most notable literary work. My sworn duty to His Majesty, the only possible reason for a fastidious old soldier to debase himself by such a visit. True, the king's dignity overcomes all indignity. True, our Spanish countryfolk do not relish the king's taxes. True, an old soldier's duty is not always relished by himself. But, Mother of God, did they need to have thrown me, Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra, into prison?
You bide there, you damned extortioner, till the parish council had a look through your list.
You've over-assessed me by 3 acres of arable and 2 dozen goats.
Yeah, I suppose you're expecting us to bribe you to get let off.
I say to you again, gentlemen, if there are errors in the Revenue Commissioner's assessment, there is a proper procedure of appeal.
You can do your own appealing to the mayor when he comes home from El Toboso. In the meantime, you bide here.
Locks, bolts, bars and shutters. The very heart and soul of this damned village. Not half 100 yards away across the street from the graveyard, a gentleman's house all nailed up like a bullpen. The only house of consequence in the whole place as far as I can see. And the old fellow inside of it as mad as a hatter. Well, they must keep him confined lest he do himself an injury. Of course, they can't say that I'm mad. Am I not the government? By definition, the most sane institution in the land. By definition. Except only for Holy Church. By definition. Pope, king, tax gatherer. Oh, we all share the same burden. To impose coercive sanity upon fallible mortal chaos. Which, if true, must imply that those who have put me here must themselves be as mad as their own local madman they've locked up down the street. I had hoped this evening to be at my ease and contemplative. Contemplative of good literature in the courtyard of that very house. In such a residence upon my rounds I can usually find hospitality. How was I to know the rural fury that would prevail here against my office? Does it matter to them that I'm in debt to my publisher for advance fees upon 6 plays, or failing plays, a full-length novel? Oh, very much failing plays. Lope de Vega, it appears, is now the only man for writing plays. The new school, the advanced techniques. All these years I've not had leisure to so much as even think about the advancement of technique. Leisure? Now I'm drowned in it. Howbeit sufficiently squalid as to the nose, as to the touch. Oof. And unduly productive of cramp. Moreover, it is pitch dark. And moreover, I am hereby left absolutely no excuse for an indolent imagination. So what? Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra, potential but unproven, the greatest author in all Spain, so what shall you propose to imagine? Well, here we are. A dark room, an old man, well, elderly, past his prime, not exactly past his prime. Be honest, Miguel, old, a meagre, Shriveled, fantastical old man locked up like a naughty child to be chastened in a dark room. So, what can his ill-cultivated, dried-up imagination be expected to create but just such a story of a meagre, shriveled, fantastical old man locked up in a dark room? Apart from this prison, but one gentleman's house in the village, and that house, remarkably, the prison of a madman. Now, I wonder how Hello? Who's this?
Hey, tax gatherer, extortioner. You, on your feet. Parish priest wants to see you. Give me a knock, Father, when you're finished.
Oh, dear me. Dear me, dear me. Good evening, Captain.
Good evening.
I did tell them that they shouldn't, but until the mayor arrives, I'm afraid... Well, your accommodation, Captain, not comfortable. I thought perhaps I could alleviate... I am right to call you Captain.
My service with His Majesty's colours was unfortunately terminated when the Moors took me prisoner. I had applied for a commission, but it had not been granted in time. By stretching it a little, I could, I believe, use the courtesy title, but I prefer not.
Oh, you were held by the Moors.
For 5 years, Father. May I say at no time in quite such unseemly conditions as these.
Oh, dear. Yes,
I take it your parishioners have neglected your undoubted instruction of the example of our Lord towards publicans as well as other sinners. Nevertheless, I'm happy to emulate the professional patience of St. Matthew. All in the end will be made clear.
When the mayor returns, I'm sure...
Ah, yes, when the mayor returns. I am going to have quite a lot to say to his worship, you know.
I can at least see that some respectable food is brought into you from the inn. I'll be glad to keep you company while you eat it. I really am most anxious to hear your adventures among the infidels. Indeed. The great battle of Lepanto. That glorious victory. The cross against the crescent. And here I am, actually talking to a veritable hero of that day. And disabled, moreover, wielding the sword of Christ in defence of his Catholic people. You see, we hear so much of these valiant deeds of arms, and yet so very few of us can take any credit for them. Oh, we sit here in this barren countryside and quarrel interminably over our flocks and herds, and profit and loss, petty cash, parish pump.
Yet, maybe life or death from that very parish pump, if the season is a dry one.
Yes, as at present.
I'm greatly in your debt for this wine.
Oh, some small alleviation. But, as I say, in comparison with the great works of the Spirit in the world of outer darkness, paganism, heresy, the huge new continents beyond the ocean...
I applied for a posting to the Americas, you know. They refused on account of my age.
Oh, but consider the unimaginable wealth brought back from America into the boundaries of Europe. Now, are we a fit people to pretend to be trustees of it? As you have discovered today, to your cost, we are unable to even argue amongst ourselves the disposition of that wealth without childish resort to violence.
I do not defend the precise workings of the Royal Exchequer.
No.
In all probability, the tax assessments are unjust.
And yet you are a good man. It is your duty to enforce them. If you all of a sudden were to tear up your official documents and refuse on the grounds of conscience to obey your superiors, you would surely be punished. Just as you are now being punished for exactly the reverse.
I doubt if they would punish me. They declare me non compos mentis and consign me to oblivion. I might even get a pension if my friends made enough fuss about the Battle of Lepanto, my disabled left hand, the cumulative nervous strain after years of captivity, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I suppose they could say that you've been driven mad by a vision of glory. Don Rodrigo Pacheco, one night in his bedroom, had a vision of Our Blessed Lady. And they've locked him up ever since.
You mean the house by the graveyard?
She told him, so he says, that he was her faithful warrior and he must go forth in shining armour and put to death the hordes of Satan. Well, unfortunately, the first demons he pulled out his weapon against were members of the highway police. Well, they referred the case to me, and I had to tell them that the circumstances of his vision were theologically very dubious. Indeed, if examined too closely, it might have been a matter for the Holy Inquisition, and we certainly didn't want that. So we all agreed he must be mad.
What were the dubious circumstances?
Well, to begin with, he drank too much. He also read too many books.
Books, Father? Oh, bad. What sort of books?
Philosophical theses, I'm afraid perhaps heretical. Look, don't tell anyone I told you. His housekeeper and I, we burnt them. All of them. Very quickly. Most of the other books, not heretical. Trivial, that's all. Interminable rubbish about knights and fair ladies, malevolent enchanters. I used to read them myself, at the age of 14. But good heavens, Don Rodrigo was, well, at least as old as you are.
How old would you say that was?
Oh, well, 65, 68.
5 and 50, sir, no more.
Oh.
I'm a man in the prime of life. Heresy does not interest me, but the hordes of Satan do. I've dwelt in their prisons and withstood them face to face. They can be as generous, as honourable as any Catholic who ever heard Mass. When that is so, their fashion of life can appear to a man paradise. The falling fountains in the blue-tiled courtyards, the veiled women and the jet-black eunuchs. Which is why they are enchanters, and why I found it necessary to attempt to escape 3 times before I was ransomed. There is nothing merely trivial in these fables about enchantment. Now, I would be glad for you to tell me more of your brain-stricken Don Rodrigo. No need to go into the more delicate personal detail. But continue. It would, as you say, alleviate the tedium of my life.
Well, he was, you understand, one of those old-fashioned gentlemen who are never without a lance upon a rack, an old shield, a lean horse, and a greyhound. His diet consisted more of beef than mutton, and with mincemeat on most nights, lentils on Friday, and a pigeon extraordinary on Sundays, he consumed 3/4 of his income. The rest was laid out in a plush coat, velvet breeches, with slippers of the same for holidays, and a suit of the very best homespun cloth for working days.
Is there light enough in this cell for you to notice what I am wearing?
Ah, why, yes, much the same quality of dress. His Majesty's servants are not very well paid?
We don't criticize the king.
Oh.
But I dare say you could take it as an evidence of my honesty. You might mention it to the mayor.
I am certain that his worship will see for himself.
To continue. Don Rodrigo.
Oh, yes, Don Rodrigo. Well, his family was, indeed still is, a housekeeper turned 40, a niece of about 20, one serving man who could work in both the house and the field, Don Rodrigo himself, lean-bodied, thin-faced, strong physique, never overslept, extremely fond of hunting. He had a nickname, Kixana.
Lantern Jaws.
I've heard it said that the nickname was suggested by one of his family names, Quesada. But tell me, why are you so interested in him?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And indeed, I do wonder whether I should press the matter any further. On the one hand, he's totally mad. On the other hand, perhaps a heretic. Either way, he could be a danger both to himself and to others. That is to say, if I was concerned to present the exact truth.
Present? Present to whom?
To the great world of the spirit, the imagination of the reading public.
Oh.
Apart from Don Rodrigo, you will tell me there's no such animal in the village of Argamasilla.
Oh, but there is. And I myself am part of it.
Not at all. You are an inquisitor. You are a burner of books.
Oh, no, sir. Only some books, and in very special circumstances. In general, I read widely. Novels, poetry, plays.
Not religion?
Oh, certainly, but we're not talking about that, are we? You are yourself, of course, an author. In your official profession, you would have to be to retain such concern for the individuals whom you meet.
Will you tell me the name of books you have particularly enjoyed? Let us see if our tastes are as compatible as I'm beginning to think they are.
Ah, there is an excellent pastoral romance known as La Galatea. A failure when it first came out, but I have always maintained that if ever the poet should complete the second part he promised us, the whole world would be forced to recognize...
No, he will never complete it.
You know him?
I do. He is disillusioned with the pastoral romance.
I'm told he has suffered considerable misfortune.
So they say. So they say.
His book was one of the few in Don Rodrigo's library that I refused to put on the bonfire. But he's still alive?
Who? Don Rodrigo?
No. Cervantes, the poet of La Galatea.
Oh, yes, he's still alive.
I won't ask you at the present moment exactly where he might be.
I will tell you where he is.
Eh?
Held captive by his inability to develop a profitable theme. Look here, about Don Rodrigo. Potential. He has great potential. Provided his portrait were conceived in terms of a fiction, I can't believe it would cause distress. You tell me something more of him. I will attempt to refashion it, and then we shall see. At inordinate, intolerable, bureaucratic length, with apologies, with civic promises of reparation for their fierce behavior, the good people of Argamasilla in the end came to the conclusion that the king's officer belonged to the king, and their unwholesome agrarian bridewell once again was left empty. I shall have to get rid of this business of the vision of Our Blessed Lady. Chivalric romances would turn anyone mad. There's no need for religion, still less mistaken religion, to intrude into the narrative. Besides, it's not safe. But La Mancha, with its bleak landscape of arid fields and half-starved goats, there indeed is a proper background for irreconcilable obsession. In a certain village in La Mancha, of which I do not remember the name, I will keep his name, Master Lantern-Jaws, Don Quixote of the homespun suit. Yes. Of all the men in the world, he admired that bold and fabulous knight, Rinaldo de Montalban, and particularly his carrying away of the idol of Mahomet, which was all of massive gold, while he so hated the traitor Ganelon that for the pleasure of kicking him handsomely, he would have given up his housekeeper, nay, his niece, into the bargain.
The question arises whether it is not my solemn duty to give up housekeeper and niece in any event. At least, not give them up, but abandon the sloth and luxury their loving devotion enforces upon me to the detriment of my true destiny. Rinaldo did not spend his days reading books in an armchair, seeking exercise only in the carnal indulgence of the hunting field. Nor did Orlando, nor did El Cid, nor did Sir Lancelot of England. No. They rode forth, armed, cap à pie, redressing all manners of grievance, ensuring justice, defying tyrants, exposing themselves to danger, and in the end they achieved everlasting renown and honour. Armed cap à pie. There is the first difficulty. Now, I wonder what we have. Somewhere down here in the corner at the back of the old wardrobe. The remains of my grandfather's historic panoply. He last put it on in Queen Isabella's service at the capture of Granada from the Moors. Oh, such notches and dents in the steel. Such remembrance of his ancient valour. Breastplate, backplate, arm pieces, thigh pieces. Oh dear, so shamefully rusty. Hello there, Diego.
Sir?
Do you suppose you could find me a small piece of scarring stone?
Just tell me what you want scoured, sir. I'll get it done for you in the morning. Just now to sort out them broken roof tiles over the stable, and then I've got...
Just bring me the stone, please. I'll attend to the scarring myself.
Oh, if that's what you want. I'm going to have to look for it. It'll maybe take some time.
Oh. In the meanwhile, I must consider what to do about the helmet. Now, as far as I remember, the visor has been missing since I was a child. Yes, I can't possibly afford to take it to an armourer. Besides, the design is outmoded. He wouldn't know how to repair it. The rivets are still in place. I could surely reconstruct the appearance of a visor with With leather? Too soft. Starched linen? No. I could take 1 or 2 pasteboard book covers and glue them together, and then steam them with a kettle, and then bend them, and then... Would they take offence in the kitchen if I asked for the use of a kettle? Come, sir, do you not dare to even address your own housekeeper? What kind of chivalric intrepidity do you call this?
A boiling kettle, did you say, sir? At this time of the day? You know perfectly well, sir, I'll let the stove die down until I'm ready to do your dinner. For the price of charcoal, what it is...
It doesn't have to be a large kettle. I just want enough steam to...
And who's to take it upstairs? I've got more than enough to attend to down here.
It doesn't need to be taken upstairs. I will bring my cardboard down to it.
Cardboard? Cardboard? What on earth does a man mean?
I would be very much obliged if you would do what I ask. I can bend it to shape over the instep of my boot. So. And then we secure it here. Antonia, my dear niece, would you mind just fetching me my old broadsword? I last saw it, I believe, at the back of the broom closet. How on earth did it get there?
Your broadsword, Uncle? What do you want a broadsword for? I didn't even know you had one.
At the back of the broom closet, Antonia. It hasn't been sharpened since the muster of the militia in 1572. Or was it 73? It was after the year of Lepanto, I do know that. Or was it 87, when the English pirates attacked Cadiz?
Here it is, Uncle. I don't know what you want to do with it. It's jammed into the scabbard. I can't get it out.
One good pull with a strong right arm and...
Oh, sir, be careful. You'll do yourself a
Not at all. Not at all. Pulled it out without any difficulty. Now then, Antonia, the helmet, my dear, on the corner of the table, with my new visor uppermost, like that. Now, stand clear.
Oh, Uncle, what are you doing?
I'm testing my workmanship. If it stands up against a scientific crossstroke, it'll stand up against... anything. Yes, well, I should have reinforced it with a portion of iron strapwork. I imagine it can be done. The question of my horse. All good knights are associated with a sagacious and faithful war horse, the name of which is renowned almost as widely as their own. Diego, the old horse.
Oh, you weren't thinking of taking him out, sir. Not today. I wouldn't advise
Is he
it.
not in good health?
Oh, not so much his bad health. I'd put it more down to his sense of balance. The less we get him to do, sir, the easier it is when he does it.
I want a new name for him, Diego. Can you think of a name?
What's the matter with old Trudge? We've called him that for 15 years. Poor old creature at his time of life, you don't want to be. There you are, boy, there you are.
At his time of life, nobility, dignity, a new consciousness of inspired purpose. We want a name for this horse that suggests all of that. Don't we, boy? Don't we?
Old Trudge's was, but isn't now. Call him that and see how he lives up to it.
Well, if translated from the barbarous vernacular into a mixture of classical Latin and scholarly Castilian, with emphasis preferably on the ancient Gothic roots of the language...
I'll leave that to you, sir.
Old Trudge, Rosin, Germanic, Rus, meaning a war horse. Strange how the emphasis has changed in our Iberian context. As was, but isn't now. Ante, construed as before, heretofore, erstwhile. Ah, yes, Rosin ante. Heroic, mellifluous. We will call him Rocinante. Do you hear that, boy? Your new name. Make sure you live up to it. I also require a name, one expressive of my quality.
Like as it were a nickname?
No, not a nickname. Un titre d'honneur, as the White Knight, the Green Knight, the Knight of the Golden Leopard.
The Knight of the Lantern Jaws.
What? What did you say?
Nothing, sir, nothing.
Oh, but you did. I am well aware of my reputation, Diego, among the lighter minds of the local populace. I would be lacking in humility were I to pretend otherwise. Lantern jaws. Kixana. It does indeed, alas, express my quality. Unworthy as I am, I must make up my mind to embrace the derogatory circumstance. Vanity of vanities, said the preacher, and he told no lie, or else why should I now be looking for a more poetical pronunciation? Kixana. Quesada. Quixote. Don Quixote of what, Diego, what? Why, of what but my native countryside upon which I shall confer such fame? Don Quixote de la Mancha. And I want you to mend me my lance, oh yes, and refurbish my shield.
But a knight-errant without a mistress is a tree without fruit or leaves, a body without a soul. Don Quixote had at this time no lady on whom he might bestow the empire of his heart, and to whom he might send his prisoners to make submission at her feet.
Lady, they will say, I am the false giant Caliculiambro, lord of the island of Malindrania, vanquished in single combat by Don Quixote de la Mancha, who humbly desires that you should dispose of me according to your will. And most graciously she will dispose of them. She will... I don't know what she'll do with them. It depends who she is. She ought to be a princess. I have never, in fact, met a princess. When I was a young man, and now and then writing poetry, I don't remember to whom, there were several young ladies. Ah, all so long ago. There was, of course, last year, that most agreeable interlude on the road towards El Toboso. She brought me a drink of goat's milk when I was fatigued after a long day's hunting, a most courteous and hearty young person, with a very well-tended flock of goats. Let me see, did she tell me her name? Ah, so refreshing.
Oh, aye, we've got plenty. You drink all you want.
Yeah, and somewhere among my raiment I have a small quantity of loose change to reimburse you for your trouble. No, don't go away. I shall find it directly. My niece will have stitched it securely inside my breeches, lest I should happen to lose it.
Oh, well, if you're going to strip yourself on the public road, old gentleman, that's not proper, not at your age.
No, my dear, you shall suffer no impropriety. Oh, dear. Very nearly one button too many.
You want to watch out for the highway police.
My goodness, what a jolly laugh. You must surely be a remarkable favourite among the young shepherds of the plain. Here we are.
Oh, no, it don't matter. You don't really need
Consider this a contribution to your dowry, my dear. But don't let your father marry you off now to some covetous and grasping lecher. It does happen, and it's always regrettable. Who is your father? Perhaps I know him.
Perhaps. I'm Aldonza, the daughter of Lorenzo, and he don't intend I should get mixed up with no old scorpion. Nor do I neither.
Good. But a sturdy, brown-complexioned, tight-thighed young fellow to take hold of a good lump of you and call you his honeycomb? Now, wait a moment, don't go.
Why not? I've got work to do. Now, you take it easy on the road now. Seemingly that horse of yours has given you a tumble already. Hey, damn you, Rosabella, you come back here.
And do you know, she ran from me, positively ran. Of course she had work to do, and her goats had begun to stray, but she had been very free with me, and I fear, had I been younger, I might have forgotten myself. What a pity she's called Aldonza. Aldonza Lorenzo. No, find her another one. Sweet, harmonious, worthy of the yearnings of the heart of a true knight. Dulcinea. Dulcinea del Toboso. I have never forgotten the bright sparkle of her two dark eyes, and if she has forgotten me, she will soon be reminded by the renown of my deeds that the champion Don Quixote remains everlastingly in her debt.
To drive a man mad with visions, Dulcinea is surely as plausible as the Blessed Virgin Mary. For the purpose of fictional narrative, I would imagine a good deal more versatile. So, upon one morning very early, in the hottest time of July, without acquainting anyone of his design, Don Quixote put on his armour, mounted his horse, and quietly went out through the private door of his backyard. He rode through the fields at random. He had not gone very far when a terrible thought struck him.
How can I be a knight until someone has made me a knight? Dubbed. I have not been dubbed. My adventure is illegitimate.
So he decided to be dubbed a knight by the very first person he should meet.
As has been often done in the romances, I know that.
But the countryside seemed totally empty. The heat of the sun was intense. There was nothing for him to eat or drink, and he was overcome by a sort of despair.
Moreover, my poor Rocinante is almost falling between his own 4 feet. I have never read of a knight who had to travel so far without encountering some castle for appropriate entertainment.
At last, towards evening, he observed a building not far ahead. There were people in front of it.
And 4 strong towers, lofty pinnacles, all glittering with silver, moat, drawbridge, a range of battlements.
It was, in fact, a modest country inn of the usual sort. But he saw what he expected to see, what he wanted to see, and nothing else. 2 itinerant prostitutes at the door of the inn.
Beautiful damsels to receive a gallant visitor.
A swineherd in a nearby field, blowing his horn for his drove of pigs.
The conventional dwarf in livery to give the signal of the approach of a noble stranger. Come, come, Rocinante, lift up your head, strike fire from your hooves. Sweet maidens, do not flee. The order of knighthood which I profess forbids injury to anyone. Certainly to ladies of such obviously exalted rank.
His homemade visor had been falling over his face all day long.
Now, maidens, excessive laughter. Excessive laughter is prejudicial to the modesty that your beauty should imply. I say this not to reproach you, but to confirm my desire to render you my services.
Oh, what? 2 at a time? You buckled up, old dung beetle.
Oh, he likes it curious, this one. You take the end with the tin cans on, I'll take the bit with the cardboard.
I hope you've got more than cardboard to pay a girl with. Hey, watch out!
Watch out where you're walking to, you 2-legged junkyard. He's half torn me gown off with his dirty great spikes.
Wait a minute now. Take it easy there.
So corpulent a man as the innkeeper was naturally inclined to peace and quiet. Yet he felt he must intervene.
The seneschal of the castle.
Before somebody got hurt.
Sir Knight, as you are disposed to dismount, we are able to supply you with all that you need here, except for a private bedroom, if that was your noble pleasure.
Master Seneschal, you are most courteous. I do not require a bedroom. Tonight of all nights, it is my duty to remain awake.
You can do that for a whole year in this house, I can tell you, whether you want to or not. Put a plug in it, you two.
Please attend with special care to the comfort of my horse, while these ladies assist me to remove my accoutrements. The breastplate, if you please, ladies, first.
Go on, do it.
The buckle is under my armpit.
Hey, up there, horse. Move.
He is a most highly prized steed, sir, and requires most considerate treatment.
Oh, yes, whatever you say. Come on, lad. Come on.
Never was knight so nobly attended as Don Quixote in this castle by such preclear and refulgent pulchritude. Inadvertently, I'm led into a quotation from the romance of Sir Lancelot. Otherwise, I would, of course, not have discovered my identity before proving my valour with some majestical deed. What's the matter with the helmet?
It won't come off.
So leave it in place. Leave it in place. I'm afraid you'll damage the visor.
How are you going to eat then with it still on your head?
Oh,
Is a banquet prepared for me? I am unable to properly discern. Ah, fish. I can smell fish. Of course, it is Friday. If the morsels are small enough...
Oh, they're small enough, all right, in this place.
You could favour me, perhaps, by passing them through the slits in the cardboard. As for a beverage...
If he can't get the cup to his mouth, use a straw. Here you are, then. Nice and tidy. And not a drop spilt down his beard. Take your time, sir, take your time. You can kill all the Moors you want in the morning.
Moors? I can't kill Moors. Not yet. No, not yet legitimate. Seneschal, a private room. You do have a private room?
No, nothing except the stable.
To the stable, at once.
In the seclusion of the stable, he fell immediately upon his knees at the feet of his host.
Most valorous Seneschal, I will not rise from this spot till you grant me the boon of knighthood. First thing in the morning, you must dub me a true knight according to the established ritual. Meanwhile, through the hours of darkness, I keep vigil over my armour in the chapel of your castle.
We don't exactly have a chapel. It's undergoing repairs. How about the courtyard?
Beneath the stars.
Beneath the stars. Very solemn, very appropriate. There would, of course, usually be a small fee for the service. You do have some money, I suppose.
Money? I never yet heard a knight-errant required money.
Oh, yes, indeed. It's quite the regular thing.
It's not in the books.
Oh, it wouldn't be. They'd take it for granted, the books would. Not worth mentioning. But when you think of it, how would any of them get along anywhere if they didn't carry a small supply? Or at least have their squires carry a supply for emergencies.
Squires? But, I have no squire.
The folk that your knights meet up with on the road, you know, have to live the same as they do.
It appears I am at fault. Already on my first day. What is to be done?
Oh, I think for the sake of the house, sir, and the entertainment of my customers, I mean the edification of my noble guests, we can manage it for you gratis, just this once. We'll lift your gear out into the yard and you carry on with your pious vigil, yes. In the meantime, I'll notify the brilliant assembly within of the great honour afforded my roof.
The armour being set up in a horse trough for want of an altar, Don Quixote, with shield and lance and a most graceful deportment, began to walk about in front of it. All the people of the inn were out to have a look at him. One of them, however, was a carrier who needed to water his mules.
I have to water my mules, damn it!
False knight, upon your peril you are not to touch that harness. Oh, Lady Dulcinea, give courage to your faithful slave.
Had he struck more than one blow with the full weight of his lance, the carrier would have needed no surgeon. As it was, the man's companion...
What the... Caitiff, stand back! No!
...received the second blow on the crown of his head, which was broken in 3 or 4 places.
Draw nearer if you dare, all of you! Reap the reward of your insolence!
Wait a moment, just a moment. We can't have all this going on. A joke's a joke, lads. Leave it alone.
Joke? Who spoke of jokes?
No one at all, sir, to be sure. No joke at all. A simple mistake due to the replenishment of the chapel and the consequent transference of the ceremony. In view of which transference, the sooner we get it done, perhaps the better for all of us. There is a procedure for the abridgment of ritual in such cases, if you wouldn't mind.
Not at all. Carry on. You seem a most experienced person.
So, we'll just get a copy of the Holy Scriptures. You, bring me ledger from behind the bar, Luke Sharp, and a couple of them stupid tarts, damsels, and the boy with a candle, and, if you don't mind, sir, kneel down. That's it. Here's the book, then. Burble, 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 burble. 3 sacks of oats, 3 sacks of barley, 4 wineskins of best red, and discount on delivery 1.5 rails. I hereby dub thee Knight Don Quixote de la de la...
Mancha.
Yeah. Where's his sword? Give me the sword! On your neck, on your shoulder, on your shoulder. There you are. Damsel, where's a damsel? Tie his sword on. Make it fast. To the damsel, where are you? Spurs, put his spurs on. And you read the stories? For God's sake, fetch him his horse. Get him out of here without more trouble.
Don Quixote donned his armour, embraced the innkeeper, embraced the damsels, mounted his horse, and sallied forth in exultation.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I hope we never see you again.
He decided to go home first for some money and some clean shirts.
And a squire. I really must find some honest fellow to be my squire. Strange how I never thought of it. Upon consideration, it appears an essential. Until I am properly equipped and provided, I am really in no condition to save anybody from anything at all. An adventure at this moment might even be an embarrassment. Aha! Whom have we here? Knights errant on the road from Toledo. I will compel them to acknowledge the precedence of my lady.
They were, in fact, merchants going to buy silk at Murcia. 6 of them, 4 servants and 3 muleteers on foot. He put his horse on the crown of the road and levelled his lance.
Let no man pass who is not ready to confess that there is not in the universe a more beautiful damsel than Dulcinea del Toboso.
The merchants, astonished, said they did not know the lady.
Perhaps, sir, you could show us a picture. I mean, she might be blind in one eye and have an unpleasant discharge from the other one.
We don't want to commit ourselves to a pig in a poke.
Don Quixote's instinctive response to such humour was to charge. Rocinante fell down. The unfortunate knight, all encumbered with his armour, was unable to get up, and one of the muleteers, not a good-natured person, beat him like a wheat sheaf with his own lance till the weapon was broken to pieces. They left him in the middle of the road to comfort himself in his agony by recitation of a romantic poem.
Alas, where are you, lady dear, that for my woe you do not moan? You little know what ails me here, or are to me disloyal grown. Oh, where is my noble lord? O Marquess of Mantua, come to my aid.
Who's this? What's the matter? What's happened? Oh, my poor friend, you have had an accident. Oh, let's have a look at you. Who are you?
Nay, I am like unto Abindereth, the dolorous knight, laid low and nigh to my death. And you can be none other than the Marquess of Mantua.
No, I'm not. I'm Pedro Alonso taking me corn to mill, and don't you try to deceive an old neighbour, Master Lantern George. It's not kind. I've been to earth, indeed.
I know very well who I am. And what's more, I may not only be him whom I have named, but all of the great knights of history, if I choose. For my exploits shall be greater than theirs.
Meanwhile, at our hero's home, all was confusion. Don Quixote's housekeeper, his niece, and 2 of his friends, Father Perez, the parish priest, and Master Nicholas, the barber surgeon, were discussing his mysterious disappearance all at once at the tops of their voices.
Father, I tell you, it took a shield and a lance and an old suit of armour. It's all his books about knight errants, Father Perez. He's gone mad.
I should have told you, Master Nicholas. Well, he'd read at his books for hours, then throw them on the floor. And then he'd charge at the hangings in his bedroom, crying out they were giants as huge as church steeples.
Then he'd swallow down a jug of cold water and lie flat on his bed.
Father Perez, I should have told you. We should have had all those books burned.
Tomorrow, my dear, tomorrow we shall certainly...
Open the door! Open the door there! The Lord Marquess of Mantua, with Abandereth, the Moorish lord, so wounded before your gate. Up and let us in.
What on earth is going on? Pedro, are you drunk?
No, Father, I'm not. It's not but the poor old gentleman. I just told you, like, who it was that he's been telling me that he is. He does seem to believe it, sir. He's had a terrible accident, and I do think he should be seen to.
The enchantress Urganda, if you can find her, will cure my wounds. I met 10 giants on the road, the most outrageous, audacious that ever infested the world. But I fought them, and I prevailed.
Please, Uncle.
No more questions. Will you help me to my bed? And please find the benevolent enchantress.
Master Nicholas will attend to your wounds,
Let me
sir,
see him.
without any need of enchantresses or any other nonsense from them nasty heretical books. Father Perez, he's really hurt himself. Could you come back in the morning?
In the morning, the priest came back, and the nasty heretical books were most solemnly burnt.
Read me the titles, Master Nicholas. We must not destroy indiscriminately. Domino.
The Adventures of Amadis de Gaul.
Some sort of Frenchman, seemingly. Ugh.
Is it not significant? This is the very first we put hand on. I have heard it was also the very first romance of knight-errantry to be printed in Spain. The teacher and author of so pernicious a sect, we condemn him without mercy.
Father, just one moment. Didn't somebody once tell me that of all these foolish stories, this one is indisputably the best?
That is possible.
Well, if it's the only good thing of its kind, it may well deserve a pardon.
Oh, sir, Father Perez, burn them all. Burn the lot. If my uncle finds out that you're keeping the good ones, why, he might even turn poet himself, which is the worst disease of all. Father Perez.
I'm sorry, my child. I was just looking through the pages here. I read a little bit, and I simply had to read on.
La Galatea, by Miguel de Cervantes.
Part 1. Now, I always maintained that if ever this poet should complete the second part, his entire work will surely obtain the full pardon that is presently denied him. But until then, keep him safe in your house.
This way, my valiant knights! Make haste to reinforce the strength of my arm!
Good heavens, he's breaking out of his room.
All the rest of the books on the fire. No, we haven't time to sort through them. We must keep him calm, or heaven knows what he will do.
Do not be afraid to use force, Father Perez. Medically speaking, the shock can be most salutary.
No, we can't have him bursting out like a convict on the run. If that were to happen, he'd have the whole village at his back. They'd bring him in bound hand and foot, and I'd never get him loose again. If it were me, and they had burnt my books, locked me into my bedroom... I am an old soldier. I can recognize superior numbers, and I know how to be crafty. 3 times by means of craft I all but escaped from the devilish Moor. And there is no reason for Don Quixote to show himself less competent.
No, I am calm. You can all of you leave me alone, if you please. But I would like to talk to my niece. There she is. My dear Antonia, I am looking for... I don't seem to be able to find...
Oh, Uncle, what is it? There's nothing in the corner of the room.
But there should be. My bookshelves. All my books. They were in this corner.
No.
Do you mean me to believe that the devil has carried them away?
No, not the devil. Uncle, I must explain. When you were... Well, while you were away from home, I mean, when you were indisposed, but before you had your accident... in the middle of the night, an enchanter, on a flying serpent, surrounded by a cloud, came swooping in at the window. Well, we were beside ourselves with terror. The whole house was full of smoke. A most dreadful, unearthly voice made every rafter and floorboard quiver. My name is the sage Mini Muniaton.
Muniaton? No such name in the book. He must have said Freston.
Well, Freston or Muniaton, it's all one to me. All we know is he magicked away every single book in this horrible cloud of smoke.
Yes, and as he vanished, he called out that he bore perpetual enmity to the meddling knight-errant who interfered with all his plans. And the next time... it would be you that he seized in his unbreakable grasp. So please, Uncle, please, stay quietly at home and be warned by this visitation.
Yes, indeed. It would be prudent indeed to be warned.
Thus, apparently abashed by the young lady's fantasy of his own embellished fantasy, he continues to lie there in darkness, this meagre, shrivelled, fantastical old man, locked up like a naughty child. The priest and the barber surgeon come often to see him, and are very soon persuaded that he's well on the way to recovery. So vigilance begins to slip. They relax his confinement. When they see Don Quixote out and about in his fields and garden, enjoying frequent conversations with a simple-hearted labouring man who lives close by, there is no reason to suspect that he's talking about anything but the ordinary affairs of the La Mancha countryside.
You must understand, Sancho Panza, that the squire of a valiant knight is not only rewarded by his share of his master's renown...
And glory, sir. You did say glory. Yesterday, sir, you said glory and honour.
Renown, glory and honour, yes. But in addition, there are also material inducements. Were the knight, for example, to achieve the conquest of an island, he would personally be unable to remain there to rule it himself. So his squire, had he proved worthy, would in all likelihood be invested with the office of governor, with all the benefits and perquisites appertaining thereunto.
Governor? Like they say, the king's governors over there in that New America. Oh, I have heard tell of that. Great galleons loaded with gold.
You do understand it would be a position of trust.
Oh, of course, sir, of course. Trust, renown, glory.
Shh. I see my housekeeper coming out of the yard. You must understand, Sancho, that when I said islands, I was speaking of only the more moderate possibilities. Entire kingdoms have been known to fall into the hands of chivalric adventurers.
Do you mean to tell me, sir, I could become a crowned king? And Teresa, my wife, would she be a queen?
Not impossible.
Oh, and my children become princes and princesses? Oh, but I don't think my old woman could ever make more than a countess. No. When do we start?
Tomorrow. Shh. Father Perez, black hat over the top of the hedge. Sancho, not a word to your wife. We must both of us be very secret.
He had in the meanwhile undertaken a number of private financial arrangements, selling and mortgaging some parcels of property. So this time he was not without money, though he had of course been cheated. Sancho Panza was to carry a knapsack of provisions, spare shirts and so forth, and to ride alongside his new master on his own very reliable donkey.
I am temporarily short of horses, but the spoils of war, Sancho, you will soon be re-equipped.
Together, without anyone knowing of it, they stole from the village in the dead middle of the night, and by the morning they were confident they were well out of reach of pursuit. So, there we are. He is clear and away, free at last for the first time in the wide-open spaces of indisputable fiction. From now on, all his exploits are totally dependent upon me. He can range through the whole brilliant world if I choose, pursuing his destiny as wild as the sails of a windmill in the storm. So how about windmills? The incredible adventure of the windmills. Why not? Surely to a brave man inflamed by enchantment, nothing could more plausibly resemble a ferocious giant. And a whole range of windmills on the ridge of a hill, 30 of them, 40, whirling and rumbling and creaking against the sky. Such a horde of malevolent ogres to be challenged in the name of humanity.
Stay, cowards! Stand your ground, ignoble creatures! Though you brandish your huge arms with all the brag of the giant Briareus, here is the lone hero who will vanquish your pride.
Your worship, I've told you, they're windmills. They grind corn.
Grind the bones of Christian men. They shall thrive on it no longer. Cheers!
And up he goes. I told him. Up he goes. Over! And down. Oh. If he's dead, that's the end of any hope of an island. Oh, well. Oh, he's not dead. I don't understand, your worship, how any man who's not got windmills in his brain could believe that these were giants.
Preston, the accursed enchanter, who pursues me with such malice, must have changed their shape to confound my courage. Very well. He did not succeed. Where shall we go next?
Next? How about over there and sit down and eat us dinners?
Dinner? Do you talk of dinner? I am in no state to consume dinner.
You'll excuse me, sir, but I am, and if you don't mind, I'm going to do it.
And he did. He settled down to eat his bread and cheese with great enjoyment.
For if it's my function to hold myself in readiness to govern an island, I'm bound to keep in good health.
Quite so. Carry on. Oh, I should have compelled those giants to acclaim the beauty of Dulcinea.
Eh? Oh, no, sir, we're not going back up there. You said to me this very morning, hold the straight road and keep right on.
Whatever you think best. But somebody must be found from somewhere to acclaim her. Keep your eyes open. We'll soon spot him.
Rocinante, half disjointed from his fall under the windmill, could proceed neither far nor fast, and they decided to spend the night under a nearby grove of trees.
I haven't eaten. I won't sleep. I am too full of the thoughts of my true love, Dulcinea.
He was also in considerable pain.
This was but a reverse, by no means a defeat. Sancho, you must not reproach yourself for not having come to my aid.
Oh, I don't.
Because, you see, it is not your function, until you yourself are a belted knight. Unless, of course, I am in peril from base plebeians and vile scoundrels. Tomorrow, I hope, we shall encounter some adversary against whom you will see me more positively prevail.
Indeed, it was not long before these hopes were put to the test. In a narrow place between two hills, Don Quixote, as he rode, was appalled to observe a beautiful lady in a chariot being carried away by two black demons, assisted, moreover, by a whole troop of false knights armed with spears, swords, and cudgels.
Your worship, I don't think so.
Oh, yes, I can see them distinctly.
Your worship, there is a lady. She has two Benedictine monks with her in their black gowns, and an escort of servants under command of a gentleman. Your worship, he seems to be a very strong gentleman.
What would you know of gentlemen? You're far too full of bread and cheese. We shall rescue the lady at once.
Oh, no. Yeah!
It is easy enough to imagine that the two monks should at once run away, that one of them should fall off his mule, spilling all his baggage on the ground, that Sancho Panza should endeavour to seize this as his lawful plunder or perquisite, and be soundly beaten by the servants as he did so, while Don Quixote, at the door of the coach, made unaccountable orations to the terrified lady inside it.
Dear lady, your discretion is now at liberty to dispose of your beautiful self as you please, though I would desire, in recompense for the service I have done you, that you return to El Toboso to present yourself to the lady Dulcinea.
The only character not involved in this adventure so far is the very strong gentleman. What has he been doing all this while? Nothing. Well, why not? He can't be a coward, or he would never be employed as an escort. So, he must offer to fight Don Quixote. And when he does, who will win? And Don Quixote ought to win, at least sometimes in these encounters, or else I would be scarcely justified in writing about him at all. In fact, now and again, he ought to win with considerable éclat. We describe him as famous. We must prove that he is. We must prove his renown has reached even to the ears of the infidel. Our fiction, in short, must be confirmed by its worldwide acceptance. I would never perhaps have known the result of this combat had heaven and fortune not befriended me one day in the market at Toledo. I found a boy offering for sale some bundles of old papers.
paper, waste paper, half a real a bundle, waste paper.
Waste paper? Tell me, boy, who buys it and for what purpose?
Silk merchants mostly. They use it like for packing. Yeah, you're not a silk merchant.
No. But I observe these papers are written upon. From professional curiosity, I would so much like to know what they are.
Yeah, don't handle the goods. One bundle, half a real.
Oh, there you are. Thank you. Arabic. A Moorish manuscript. So I looked for a Moor. Of scholarly pretensions, found one without much difficulty. He claimed, as they all do, to be a sincere Catholic convert. But his Spanish was so poor that his Arabic must surely be good. I asked him to interpret a random sample of the document. I watched him as he leafed through the pages. What's the joke?
I am sorry, master. One of my people, very retrograde, and not yet good Christian. He amused himself at the ladies of Spain. It is, not too nice to repeat him to a Spanish gentleman, but perhaps not very, very disgusting.
Well, go on, read it.
He says, this Dulcinea del Toboso we mention often in this history.
Dulcinea?
He's said to have been best of all women in La Mancha for the preparation of salted pork. A joke, you see, for the Islamic people, highly satirical. To retrograde Islamic people, the pork is forbidden, you see.
Dulcinea del Toboso. In an Arabic manuscript. Quick, is there a title page?
It is a history. He says, History of Don Quixote de la Mancha, written at the hand of Cid Hamet Benengeli, Arabian historiographer. Most important historiographer. Very, very important for Islamic people in Spain. You would wish me to translate?
Oh, yes, indeed, yes. All of it at once. How long will it take?
Very long book. Very, very difficult, you see. Sophisticated style. First, it is necessary
to make a bargain. Of course, an appropriate fee. I quite understand. Within 6 weeks, for 2 bushels of wheat and 50 pounds of raisins, my gentleman had translated the whole work from beginning to end. The author gave great prominence to the adventure of the lady in the coach. There was even a most graphic illustration of Don Quixote in single combat against the strong gentleman, making it quite clear that Don Quixote with his sword had actually knocked his opponent out of the saddle and compelled him to yield.
Dear lady, the condition of surrender for this false knight is that he too shall promise to repair to the town of El Toboso and present himself, as from me, before the peerless Dulcinea, that she may dispose of him according to her good pleasure, after which he shall acclaim her beauty to everyone he shall meet.
And thus Don Quixote achieved his first undisputed victory. And not even Sancho Panza could regard him as entirely futile.
Now, sir, the island. Do I get the island now, sir?
Island? What island?
Like the island that you'd win for me as soon as you'd won a victory. Where is it, sir? How big?
Oh, dear. My dear Sancho, this adventure was not the adventure of an island. The adventure of a crossroads, which is quite a different thing. But never mind. In due course, we will soon find what you look for.
I'm glad to hear it, your worship. But in the meantime, don't you think the highway police are going to be looking for us? That chap from up north, you know, you didn't half fetch him a crack. And here, while we're at it, just stop and let me put a bandage over that bleeding left ear of yours. He's near cut it right off of your skull.
Oh, whatever you think best. Oh, Sancho, will you look at my helmet, completely shattered in 2. Sancho, I really believe...
Oh, you can't wear that any longer.
That I cannot wear it any longer. Oh... Just such a circumstance occurred in the story of the Marquis of Mantua and the helmet of Mambrino. Until he could acquire by force of arms that enchanted casque, he took oath, as I do now, to abstain from all carnal intercourse and the consumption of bread at table. Raise your hand. I have sworn it, and you are my witness.
That's a very stupid oath, if I may say so, your worship. How long do you suppose it's going to be before you meet a man in armour you can knock down and pinch his helmet? Unless it should so happen to be the highway police. Look here, sir. Let's get out of here.
My dissident Islamic historiographer at this point becomes confusing, repetitive, and so ironical towards Christians that his account, I'm afraid, loses all credibility. I must somehow disentangle from it the two strands of a regular plot. Don Quixote, by his rash vow, has rendered himself incapable of even thinking about Dulcinea, lest he fall into temptation of lust. But if he cannot think about her, his adventures become pointless. Without the magic helmet, he must hang, as it were, suspended on the crest of a wave of a very frustrating dream. Similarly, Sancho is undergoing frustration, suspense. Is it possible he can get hold of an island before the law catches up with the pair of them? Let's attend to the helmet first. It came to Don Quixote all of a sudden, in a shower of rain, came delivered, one might say, into his hand.
There's no doubt this weather is good for the crops, master.
The beneficence of heaven, in which we must all put our trust, Sancho.
But it's none too good for me with my rheumatics like they are. Can we get into this hut till it's over? Look there, it won't take long. There's sunshine at the back of it and a rainbow. Hey, master, your worship, Don Quixote, let's get in out of the wet.
No, wait, look, yonder across the plain. Sancho, do you see it gleam?
It's a man on a donkey with a brass hat on his head.
No, a cavalier on a dapple-grey steed with a helmet of gold. It is the helmet of Mambrino, and he's coming this way.
A rural barber, going his rounds from village to village, had covered himself from the shower with his well-polished metal basin. His head was bent down to keep the rain out of his eyes, and he kicked his little donkey into something approaching a gallop. All of a sudden, looking up, he was terrified to see a monstrous, opaque horseman with a huge lance, like a flagstaff, bearing down at him out of the squall. He threw himself off the donkey. His brass basin fell rolling to the ground, and he scampered away over the plain. Don Quixote had no sooner pulled up his horse than the rainstorm was over.
Sancho, where are you? Come here, man, and gather up for me the glorious trophy from where it lies.
You mean the donkey?
No, the mystic helm.
Oh, hey, it's not a bad class of basin. Well worth a piece of 8, I should reckon. But to my mind, the donkey's a sight better value. Didn't you see how he galloped?
Sancho, it is not my custom to plunder my vanquished foes, nor is it lawful to take prey of a knight's horse, unless one has lost one's own in the conflict.
I was only suggesting a swap. My old donkey...
A donkey for a horse, Sancho.
A donkey for a donkey. Spoils of war, you said so.
Donkey, horse, what? Oh, never mind what it is. By heaven, I declare the heathen scoundrel has deliberately been mutilating this helmet. Look at that.
All barbers' basins have that gap at one side. It's to put your neck in when you get shaved.
Nonsense. He has broken a piece off to have it melted down for the pure gold. Nonetheless, defective as it is, I shall wear it continually, and all men shall wonder at me. What a prodigious large head Mambrino must have had. I suppose you can organise some sort of chin step, can you not? Sancho, can you not?
But Sancho was busy transferring his own gear onto the back of the barber's donkey. Thus mounted on his new steed, he followed his master across the plain. His own old faithful animal, in love and fellowship as always, trotted after them as they rambled along.
It occurs to me, Sancho, that if you truly intend to become governor of an island, you should shave a little more often. Your appearance is really disgraceful.
It's not so easy when we're always travelling. If you'd kept hold of that barber, he could have come with us everywhere.
Barber? What barber? Pray do not talk in riddles. It disturbs my meditation. Sancho, I see horsemen.
Whoa.
Upon the foothills of that mountain. Who are they, can you tell?
Your worship, they have guns. Your worship, it's the highway police. Your worship, let's get off the road.
No, but behind them, a long line of weary creatures strung out in a row like beads. A great iron chain linking them from neck to neck. Assuredly, these are captives.
Captives? Why, they are. Well, it's a chain gang of galley slaves on the way to the coast.
Good God, who treats them thus?
Well, the king does. They're all criminals.
The king? Not at all. Our Christian king would never condone such cruelty. And if he would not, how can I? Rocinante, forward!
No, please, your worship. No, come back. Keep away.
Officer, this will not do. It seems to me that all of these people would have preferred not to be here. Had it not been for torture or ill luck, lack of money, lack of friends, they would all most wholeheartedly have avoided this tribulation. Officer, I would be most grateful if you would immediately release them. They have not personally offended you. There is for them in the next world a truly impartial justice. You and I will have to face it as well. I would not care to do so with the wrongful confinement of perfect strangers upon my conscience.
Oh, yes? And that there bloody brass basin's falling off the top of your head. Oh, a three-legged cat's a wonder, but I'm paying no money for it. Get along with you! Get lost!
Cat? Did you say cat? You are a cat and a rat and a rude-mannered rascal!
Don Quixote attacked the officer with such unexpected fury that neither he nor his companions were able to defend themselves. In the midst of the turmoil, the galley slaves broke their chain.
Here you are now, catch hold! Will you get rid of this bloody padlock?
Here you are, sir, here you are! Right you are now, you're loose!
The terrified troopers threw their weapons away and fled.
Your worship, so should we. Don't waste any more time.
No, Sancho. First I must address these good gentlemen upon the responsibilities of their new freedom. My friends, my good friends, before you disperse to enjoy such unlooked-for liberty, I would request you all, out of gratitude, to go to El Toboso, present yourselves and your chain to the Lady Dulcinea, and humbly make known to her the identity of your benefactor and the immeasurable debt that you owe to her beauty.
What? All of us together? Troop down to El Toboso in broad daylight like a pack of fools? You'd have us calling at the police barracks on the way, I suppose, and notify them of our intention.
You are a prostitute's progeny, sir. And you will do as I say, or I'll drive you there myself with your chain wrapped round your shoulders.
At this, all the convicts threw themselves upon Don Quixote, and also upon Sancho Panza, knocked them down, beat them, plundered them of their possessions, and stripped them of most of their clothes. They could not be bothered with the wretched Rocinante, but Sancho's 2 donkeys formed a portion of their spoil. On the lower slopes of the barren mountain, Don Quixote and his squire were left to bewail their miserable condition.
Oh, me donkeys. Oh, me poor old donkeys.
Apart from my armour, for which I suppose they had no need, they have rendered me to all intents and purposes stark naked.
No, sir. What's left of your shirt is still long enough for a gentleman's modesty.
I am reminded of the pitiable state of Amadis de Gaul when he ran mad in the wilderness for love of his cruel lady. He tore off his own clothes and sprang naked from tree to tree, crying verses of amorous despair, until at last, made aware of his plight, she vouchsafed to send him a gracious and relenting message. Now, Sancho, you do realize I have had no message from my lovely Dulcinea. Surely it is time for me likewise to lose my wits.
Oh, no, sir, don't say that.
Oh, yes. I am stark mad and stark naked, and you shall take her a letter to say so. In all probability, she is unaware of my burning passion. Her father, Lorenzo, has kept her in such seclusion.
Lorenzo?
Lorenzo, her father. A most respectable citizen, I am told, in El Toboso.
Oh, Lord, it's not her. Aldonza Lorenzo, the female weightlifter?
The what? Do you know her?
Lord, your worship, of course I know her. Arms like a pair of cart shafts and a voice like a leather trumpet. Lord, you should have had her instead of me to ride about with you fighting. She'd have soon made mincemeat of the highway police. Oh, Lord, you write your letter, I'll take it down to her.
Thank heavens these ruffians have at least left me my pocketbook. Let me see. High and sovereign lady, if it be thy pleasure to relieve me, I am thine. If not, do what seemeth good to thee. For by my death I shall at once appease thy cruelty and my own frenzy. Thine until death. It wouldn't do to put my real name. Aphrodisiac anonymity, huh? So, how shall I describe myself? The Knight of the Wild Mountain? The Knight of the Magic Helmet?
The Knight of the Rueful Countenance would suit you better than any. Do you not know they've broken out half your teeth? God knows when you last had a good dinner.
The Knight of the Rueful Countenance will do very well. Yes, very well.
Your worship, on account that the donkeys have disappeared, I'll have to ride on Rocinante.
Yes, but I am running mad. You must make haste and come back with the answer.
Your worship, on account that the donkeys have disappeared...
On the back of the letter, I will write you an order for no less than 3 new donkeys. You can give it to my niece.
Rocinante, here, lad.
Where are you going?
I'm going where I'm told, to deliver the letter.
No, you must first observe how I run mad.
I can take that for granted, sir. I've no need to look at it. I shall hand over your letter. If that Aldonza don't want to answer it, by God, I shall haul her back here by main force. So look after yourself, you daft old loony. If I could think of any other way, I'd not leave you alone for a moment. Go on, Rocinante. Come on, then. Good.
Godspeed, Sancho. Godspeed.
And he went, with such rapidity that he forgot to take the letter. Sancho did not discover this till after a long ride he was back at his own village. He'd intended, very sensibly, to make sure of the donkeys before he proceeded in search of Dulcinea. But the first person he met was the priest on the steps of the church, with the barber surgeon, and a most beautiful but distressed young lady whom he had never seen before.
Sancho! Sancho Panza! Come here, sir, at once.
Father Perez.
Sancho, where is your master? And what are you doing with his horse?
Oh, Father, it's a long story.
So he told it, and they all wondered what on earth could be done.
We've got to get him back.
If I hadn't forgotten that letter, I'd have got my 3 new donkeys. Oh, we've got to get him back. For if he can be cured of his madness, he's going to become an emperor. He's going to give me an island, he promised.
This girl, this Dulcinea, do you suppose he's ever talked to her?
Oh, maybe in a dream.
Yeah, but is she beautiful?
Oh.
No, but he believes her beautiful. I wonder... Dorothea, my dear child, now, no one could doubt you are beautiful. Now, I wonder, is it possible...
Let me assure you, Father Perez, for you have been so very good to me in my most unpleasant situation. I am heartily prepared to do anything that would help.
My Moorish authority has much to relate of the history of Dorothea. Suffice to say, she was the victim of a seducer who had abandoned her, and her family had cast her out. The good priest had undertaken to help her if he could. Perhaps he could find the young man, or maybe some convent could be persuaded to accept her. But first, as he explained to her, she really could perform a most merciful service. A day or two later, Don Quixote on the mountain was raving like an outlandish bird, driven mad for lost love.
My true love, Dulcinea!
His ragged shirt flapped about his emaciated haunches. His bare flesh was covered with appalling lacerations. And there, all of a sudden, on the hillside in front of him, a veiled woman riding a mule. Beside her, an attendant with a most wonderful long beard, the barber surgeon in disguise. Beside him, Father Perez in his ordinary clothes. And at the head of the procession, mounted on Rocinante,
Sancho, you have returned! But this lady, this gracious lady, Sancho, it is not...
No, it's someone else. I gave her the letter.
She kissed it? She pressed it to the whiteness of her brow?
No. She left it down on a sack of corn. She was sifting wheat in the barn at the time. She said she had far rather see you than try to write to you, so would you please come down off this mountain at once, she said.
Aha! Does she relent? But a verbal message not sufficient.
Don Quixote! Don Quixote, most noble knight.
Father Perez, what are you doing here?
I come, most noble knight, to recall you to your duty.
My duty to Dulcinea? I am already performing it.
No, but your duty to the tormented and oppressed. This lady, with her faithful squire, is the Princess Micomiconiya.
Father Perez, a real princess. Madonna, forgive me, I did not recognize your grace.
She is under an enchantment and pursued for indecent purpose by the obscene and loathsome ogre...
Pandafilando of the Frowning Eye.
Yes.
And a soothsayer has foretold that she could only be relieved of his disgusting importunity by the Knight of the Rueful Countenance. She has searched for him all over the world.
And now I have found him. Gentle knight, come down from the mountain and succour me in my sore distress.
She lifted her veil. Don Quixote was overcome by the beauty of her sorrowful features.
Madonna, at once! Lead me at once to the lair of this monster. He shall welter in his envenomed gore.
On the way home, they thought best to seek lodgings at a roadside inn. Don Quixote had been there before. He still believed it to be a castle. They deliberately did not disillusion him. In the middle of the night, they had cause to regret it.
Stay where you are! Stand up to me and fight! With one blow I cleave him from chin to chine! See where his red blood is flooding across the floor!
He had taken it into his head that a row of wineskins that hung from the rafters were the monstrous associates of the ogre. He went for them with his sword, and in an instant the wine was everywhere. The people of the place set up a hideous clamour.
Oh, my God, gentlemen, help me, wine! Get hold of him! Knock him down! Help!
As it happened, a patrol of the highway police had chosen to bivouac in the courtyard. With immediate brutality, they took charge of the situation.
Any more out of you, you troublesome old son, and I'll break both your arms out. Right. So, we're all quiet. Hello, though. But you're familiar. There's a warrant out for you. Highway robbery, conspiracy to help the king's prisoners to escape, assault with a deadly weapon. Fasten him up, trooper, sharp.
If these are the police, I defy them for their cruelty.
The priest did his best to intercede, but...
Keep out of it, Father. This is a matter for law and order.
Gentlemen, pray excuse my intervention. Scarcely an edifying scene. What on earth is going on?
An elegant young gentleman of aristocratic appearance newly alighted from his horse in the courtyard.
My name is Don Fernando. I'm in search of a party of people which includes a young lady who... Dorothea!
Fernando, you said in search. I won't ask you how long or for what reason.
Oh, forgive me, my dearest love. I cannot forgive myself. It has all been a terrible mistake, like the complexity of the conclusion of the plot of a new novel. My letters went astray. I was deliberately kept in ignorance. I can't explain it all now, but I never deserted you.
He had never deserted her, or so at least he now made it appear. Mirabile dictu, she forgave him. We are, after all, coming near to the end of the story.
Father Perez, as I told you, he is not of strong character, but of very ancient family with neither Moor nor Jew in his pedigree. I am certain if he holds to his promise and marries me, he will never dishonour me ever again.
She explained to Don Fernando the whole business of Don Quixote, and instructed him to sort it out.
Will you please tell the sergeant that this unfortunate old gentleman is mentally disturbed?
Sergeant, There is no doubt he is mentally disturbed. He must be taken at once to his friends. I am happy to offer surety for him.
Of course, my lord. Certainly, whatever you say, my lord. All right, lads, stand aside.
I will return to no friends until the ogre has been found and slain.
That's your word, don't stand aside. Keep hold of him. He's still violent. You'll never get him home without force. I don't see no alternative but to commandeer a wagon and strap him into it like a wild bull.
But how to induce him? Medically speaking, if we use force, the shock would be far from salutary. Why, he might die.
So there it was, insoluble. Till Father Pereth had an idea. He slipped unnoticed into the loft above them and put his mouth to a chink in the floorboards.
O knight of the rueful countenance!
A voice from heaven!
Let not this confinement afflict thee. It is essential to the accomplishment of thy adventure. Thou art under an enchantment, and there is no other way by which the princess may be finally relieved.
Yes.
Behold how she already stands hand in hand with her true love.
Assuredly a sublime conclusion to her manifold perils.
Thy service is likewise all but concluded. Gallant knight, submit thyself.
Yes.
Be patient, and deserve thereby this fair lady's eternal gratitude.
Don Quixote, you have indeed wrought me a wondrous deliverance. Go gently toward your home with these loyal companions. Endure the enchantment until at last it is withdrawn from you, and at that very moment my happiness, be confident, shall be thoroughly assured.
After that, he made no more difficulty. They brought him out onto the road, tied securely into the wagon. He rode like an emperor, with his escort all around him. When they reached his own village, he went quietly enough to bed. And there he remained for many weeks under the care of his devoted niece. Sancho Panza was able to bring him some news.
Why, your worship, they've been telling me that all what we've been doing's been written down in someone's book.
Doubtless by some sage magician.
Oh, no, by an Arab.
A Mohammedan Moor? Amongst the heathen I have already attained such great fame. Presumptuous to strive to withdraw from this enchantment, for my work, it appears, has approached its culmination. Nunc demitis Domine.
Oh, no, sir, don't say that. When we ride out again, you're going to find me that island. You keep your hopes on that, sir. There's a deal more to be done, dear me. Oh, dear, there's a great deal to do yet.
One might wonder how much. Don Quixote de la Mancha, Volume 2, Chapter 1. Just one moment. Volume 2, Chapter 1. Conversations between the priest, the barber surgeon, and Don Quixote. So far, so good. And meanwhile, Volume 1, 3 further editions, scrambling off the press. All of them pirated, and from none of them 1 penny to be transferred to my pocket. Of course, one does not write for lucre. One earns one's stipend like a gentleman in the service of the king. I said 1 moment! I'm writing. You disturb me in my literary work. Oh,
Well, Miguel de Cervantes, I have to ask you to come with me. You're ordered to attend a commission of inquiry into suspected misuse of government funds.
You mean, yet again, someone has lost all the dockets I so diligently submitted to head office, accounting for my regular expenditure in the revenue service?
Well, I'm not privy to the details, but the commission sits next week. I have authority to commit you to prison until that date, lest you choose to absent yourself when required to give evidence.
Yes. This is no novelty. I even have a carpet bag prepared for the occasion. May I write an explanatory note for my patron the Cardinal? Oh, yes. Let me tell you, he was immeasurably pleased with the misfortunes of Don Quixote. The misfortunes of the narrator of those misfortunes may likewise entertain him. And there may even be difficulties for any who have contributed thereto.
I'm only doing my duty.
Here I thank you for bringing me down the more secluded streets. A courtesy, no doubt, between fellow servants of His Majesty. I suppose, in fact, you are a servant of His Majesty? This is not by any chance a practical joke by one of my literary rivals, Lope de Vega, for example, taking time off from his inordinate proliferation of facile stage plays and guilt-conturbed adultery to hinder the repetition of my success with the first volume?
I don't know what you're talking about. Here we are. Open up, please. A new intake.
I look up at the great gate and think only of how, when it swings shut behind me, I shall be holding inside of it and inside my modest carpet bag pen, ink, and paper, and the whole hope of Volume 2. So, from my new, and as always unjust, confinement, I reinvent Don Quixote recovering from his lunacy in the confinement of his house. His original in real life, Don Rodrigo, I'm reliably informed, did in fact recover shortly after I published the book, and now he does nothing but potter about his garden. Don Quixote in his right mind would surely be no less monotonous. Could there really be a whole novel about it? Well, at any rate, possibilities. And the priest and the barber surgeon go to visit him at his sickbed to find out what they are.
I seem, my good friends, to have been a long time away from home. How long? I don't know. The enchantment that was put on me has not yet fully worn off, and perhaps my memory is impaired. But I am, most anxious to hear the news of our public affairs. Is the nation in danger? Are we still at war with the Turk?
Do you think we should tell him? We don't want to inflame him now.
It's all to the good father he should feel such an interest. Contemporary politics will clear the fantasy out of his brain.
Do you think so? Well, we can but try.
The Turkish situation, I'm sorry to tell you, has got worse since you left home. Their fleet has been threatening our garrisons in Sicily.
Sicily? Aha! Let's hope the French keep out of it.
He brought such lengthy good sense to bear on these foreign complications that his friends were disposed to believe him once again in possession of his wits.
By which token, Father Perith, I am emboldened to recommend to the king an infallible strategy for dealing with the crisis.
A strategy, Uncle? Oh, dear. Are you sure you want to talk about it?
Perhaps we should defer it till tomorrow. He's getting tired.
You're getting tired.
No. Attend to your shaving soap, Barber. I am talking as a gentleman of the security of the state. His Majesty must at once be persuaded to command every knight-errant in his dominions...
No, not knight-errant.
...to report on a certain day to the Escorial.
Oh, Father Perith, come away. He's just as bad as he ever was.
I concede that there may not be more than half a dozen, but even so, any one of them should easily be a match for 200,000 Turks. Have you not read the books? A virtuous knight-errant impeccably devoted to his sovereign mistress...
Whether I wish it or not, it is now clear there is no hope of curing him. Moreover, his relapse has, if anything, been hastened by Sancho Panza letting him know how the Moorish historian, Cid Hamed Benengeli, has actually been writing about him, all his adventures in a book.
Would you explain to me again, Sancho? I don't understand. How do you know about this infidel historian? You're not able to read Arabic?
Nor Spanish, if it comes to that, your worship. No, of course I've not been reading it. I was told all about it last night in the tavern by Bartholomew Carrasco's lad.
Samson
Carrasco. Oh, a very clever young fella. Back home from the college at Salamanca just this week.
With his degree? He is a graduate?
He told me he was a bachelor. But then you'd not expect him to have found a wife at his age, not even at college.
No, a Bachelor of Arts, B.A. Oh, yes, he is now a graduate. How relieved his poor father will be. Such a lazy young man to begin with, unsettled, profligate. But I always maintained he had it in him to make good. You were telling me about this book.
Don't you think the bachelor ought to tell you himself? He's very keen to see you, pays respects and that. I could pass him the word directly.
Yes, indeed. Please do.
What?
No, I'm not having it.
What?
Out, he comes. Hey, out! You, Sancho.
Ow! Gracious heavens, what is the matter?
I've not been your housekeeper for the past 15 years. To allow this insinuating little sackful of roguery to distract you and wheedle you and set you off again on your rambles whenever he can slip past my guard. Sancho Panza, out!
Now, look here, it wasn't my fault, it was him, inveigled me, with all his talk about islands, which he kept on promising, and I never got. You take your hands off me, missus. You've no right to be so wild in somebody else's sick room. Out! Oh!
Go!
Ow!
You had no business to let him talk to you.
And you had no business to let him in. Now listen to me. If young Carrasco, the graduate, comes calling, I very much want to confer with him. You need not be afraid that he will invite me to madness. He's a serious intellectual from Salamanca University.
That's no recommendation.
But on thinking about it, the housekeeper did wonder if conversation with a genuine graduate might not be beneficial. And when he came, she even allowed Sancho Panza to slip into the room behind him. Samson Carrasco had well considered his best approach to the deluded gentleman.
Most noble Don Quixote, admit me to kiss your honourable hand.
Ah, Samson, good morning.
Thrice blessed be the beloved infidel Cid Hamet Benengeli for enriching the world with the history of your mighty deeds.
I had not known that Carrasco's son had acquired such courtly manners.
And more than thrice, the virtuoso of our own true religion who has taken such pains to have it translated for the edification of all mankind.
Translated? Into Spanish? You have read it, my boy. What does it say?
I do hope, sir, he makes it clear as how I got as many bangs and bumps and that as anybody in the story.
That'll do, Sancho. I'm sure the learned author has reported everything in proportion. But is his book well received?
Oh, indeed. Some of the critics have tended to complain about interpolated anecdotes that have nothing in particular to do with you personally. For example, the prolonged complexities of the love between Dorothea and Don Fernando, but...
Anecdotes? Interpolated? They're absolutely monstrous. Good heavens, my dear boy, does the miserable hack imagine he can use me for the furtherance of his scribbling career?
I don't care what the critics say, the most part of them obviously my envious competitors. Volume 1 is incontrovertibly an uproarious success, at least with the general public, which is, damn it, all that matters. Pirated editions or not, it has been read all over the country. Samson Carrasco must say so.
It is read all over the country. Children handle it, youngsters read it, grown men understand it, and old people applaud it.
And the reservations of the reviewers are irrelevant to its quality?
The reservations of the reviewers are irrelevant to its quality.
History, indeed, is a kind of sacred writing because truth is essential to it. Where is truth, there is God himself. Yet there are men...
Lope de Vega, yes.
There are men who ejaculate a positive torrent of indiscriminate verbosity, flinging books into the world like fritters.
And they reap their own reward. A shoddy book, reread at leisure, will expose its own falsehood, whereas a judicious masterpiece can only add to the fame of its author the more strictly it is examined.
Such fame of necessity would be doubled were the masterpiece to have a sequel.
Perhaps we'd best not discuss that, sir. It would put you to too much trouble. After all, what is this author to you?
He's a lazy devil, that's what he is, if he just sits about waiting for us to bestir ourselves before he can be bothered to think up anything to write. Crowing over us, no doubt, that we never conquered a single island, and will never amount to naught.
Do you think that is true, Samson? The publication of this work is, as it were, a kind of challenge? A good knight never should refuse to accept a challenge. Do you not hear him?
Rocinante in the stable crieth ha among the trumpets.
An omen.
Indeed, he smelleth the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shoutings. No, we must lie here no longer. Sancho, we must ride. Where to, can you suggest?
Cid Hamet Benengeli is a trifle sarcastic upon the subject of Dulcinea.
What?
Well, he implies you have never met her, that you don't even know she exists.
Pooh!
For contrary to the custom traditional among knights-errant, you are not known to have ever proclaimed your devotion to her in the lists of a regular tournament.
I have not been informed that there were any tournaments. Otherwise I would most certainly...
My dear sir, it is now my happiness to be the bearer of great news. At the feast of St. George at Saragossa in Aragon, a most solemn tournament is to be held for all the knights of the region. If you were to attend it...
I would defeat every one of them.
Assuredly, 100 at a time.
Oi, here, wait a moment, none of that. 100 against one?
Against two, if you are with him.
Look, if that's what's entailed, I could do without any islands.
Sancho, be careful. If you are so ungrateful as to leave your master to ride out alone against such odds...
No, I didn't say that.
Your reputation will be ruined in every bookshop in the kingdom. The Arabian is on the watch.
No, your worship, I didn't mean it. It's just...
We'll say no more about it.
Of course, your worship, if you really need me to fight in a tournament...
Your good wife will be waiting supper. You'd better go home. We'll discuss our expedition tomorrow.
Very good, sir. Till tomorrow, sir. No, it's not right to say ungrateful.
At bottom, though, a sound fellow. Before we go to Saragossa, I must visit El Toboso, make my formal farewell to Dulcinea, and deliver her, if possible, a poem. I would write it myself, but my skill in such matters... I suppose, my boy... As a graduate, you wouldn't be able to...
I would be honoured and delighted. There are certain technical problems.
Make sure it includes the full name, or the verses might be for anyone. Dulcinea is unique.
So unique that unless she's brought in person into the second volume, my readers will all condemn me for an incompetent at my craft. She's been talked of long enough. Why the devil don't she and Don Quixote ever meet? That's what they'll say. And Lope de Vega will accuse me of omitting a scène à faire. Well, we shall see. Meanwhile, Sancho Panza, back at his cottage, a bit late for supper, in confrontation with his worried wife.
You're not telling me that you've actually encouraged the old fool to take you off again?
Look here, how much money have we got under the mattress?
Not enough, and never had.
And how much did I bring home to you after his last expedition?
Well, there were a good deal of talk about 100 crowns, but I never saw that much. Not laid in me hand, I didn't.
100 crowns it was. Of course, some of it had to go on expenses, but...
Did he pay it to you? Was it wages?
Well, not exactly. It was in the pocket of one of them false knights we rescued a damsel off. Like you might call it, my perquisite. Well, it's all spent, and it's time I looked out for some more. And I'll not get it with being set here, so you'd best make up your mind to it, old lady. I'm off.
You're not telling me that a knight-errant squire eats his master's bread for nought. I want to know what like a danger you're shoving your head into.
Danger? Who cares about danger? I've told you already. To be governor of an island.
You were born without being governor, you've lived this far without being governor, and I don't see no reason you shouldn't die without being governor. There's thousands do, and none the worse of it. I believe in equality. We're all one in the sight of God, and the best justice in the end is handed out to the poorest folk.
Old lady, I've no more than only this to say to you.
Cid Hamet Benengeli has here, I believe, attributed his own satirical perversity to the historical Sancho Panza. I give the speech for what it's worth, but I don't think it's authentic.
If it chance that good fortune has drawn a great man out of obscurity, how much it behoves him to remember his roots, and never to presume to patronise such associates as were born into the purple. So be not afraid, Teresa. Sancho Panza and his family will never acquire contumely for their haughtiness in high rank.
At least take your son with you if you're determined to be a governor. Let him learn the trade at his father's side.
My dear old dear, my love, my dove. When the time is ripe, I shall send for him to take his place, and you into the bargain, and our pretty little daughter. And that's that, then, isn't it? It's all settled, all arranged.
Teresa wept, and he comforted her. Don Quixote, likewise, was comforting his niece, and endeavouring, without success, to mollify his housekeeper.
My dears, do you not see? A poor gentleman of ancient family has only the two ways by which he can demonstrate his adherence to Christian virtue. Either the pursuits of the intellect, or else the profession of arms. Now, I was always a dunce at school, never got near the university, so for learning and literature, no. As a soldier, however, may I quote one of our great poets? The road is rough, and yet it must needs lead to...
Who shall say that what he speaks is not or cannot be the truth?
I have it. To everlasting life and glory, which can never be achieved by those who...
If I, who remember Lepanto, can deny this, I deny all the purposes of my youth. And yet, where in the world today can I see even one of those purposes fulfilled?
By those who slide aside and turn about and fear to face the utmost challenge of their chosen path.
Uncle, did you make that up?
I did not. It's a quotation.
I'm sure if you had needed to have made it up, you would have done. Does every poet in the language exist solely to make his home in your brain? I don't think at all he was thinking of you when he wrote those words. But you've taken them for yourself and made them into yourself, and there's nothing we can do to prevent it.
No, isn't there? That's all you know.
The housekeeper, gathering her cloak around her, went straight off to Samson Carrasco to beg for his intervention. He was sitting on the edge of the well in the middle of the village, absorbed in deep discussion with the priest and the barber surgeon.
Oh dear, my dear Samson, are you sure this will work?
I'm sure it will, Father.
It's a very heavy responsibility, young man. If he once gets out of your sight, why, anything could happen to him.
Well, I don't think I'll have any difficulty in keeping within range. Wherever he goes, the whole countryside will be talking about him. I know what it is, Father. You don't trust me, do you?
Oh,
You're thinking I'm just doing this for a lark.
Playing with him, like all the others.
Master Nicholas, indeed not. I'm no longer a student. I have graduated. Look at me. Am I not a grave and reliable academic? Shh. He's his housekeeper. We shall have to deceive her. She might blurt it out. Slip away quietly and I'll talk to her alone.
Oh, Master Samson.
Ah, mistress, I observe your anxiety and distress. But let me tell you, if Don Quixote is determined to be a knight-errant, then a knight-errant he must be.
No, you see,
if you wish, you may endeavour to deflect him from his purpose by reciting the usual prayers to Saint Apollonia.
Apollonia? That's for toothache.
Not at all. It makes no difference. As a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Salamanca, I can assure you it will be quite as effective, or indeed as ineffective, as anything else you could try. Now, mistress, pray don't argue. The most learned men in Spain would confirm my diagnosis. De feminis non curat lex, a priori de jure ultra vires ex parte. The priest and the barber are both well aware of it, so it's no use following them and complaining and wasting their time.
The poor woman was effectively silenced. And the very next day, Don Quixote donned his armour and set out with Sancho Panza for the village of El Toboso. They arrived in the hours of darkness, and all the dogs were awake and barking.
Now then, Sancho, quietly, or we will disturb the whole town. Lead the way to my lady's palace.
Right, sir, the palace, sir. Palace in El Toboso?
You know where it is. You've already been there.
I have?
When I ran mad in the mountains, I gave you a letter for my lady Dulcinea, and you delivered it, and brought back to me her most gracious reply, expressed orally. As you told me, she was sifting wheat at the time.
Oh, that, yes.
So, where is her palace? Ah, here is a large building. Surely this must be it.
Oh, no, sir, that's the church. Now, we don't want to go monkeying with churches in the pitch dark. I'm that afraid, like, of spooks and spectres. Now, please, master, don't go there. Oh, what was that? Look, I tell you what, your worship. There's been enchantments around here, and this place ain't safe for us, not at all. So why don't we clear out into the countryside while daytime, and I'll leave you there, hid in a bush, and I'll walk back into town quiet and orderly and ask a few questions till I find out what's gone wrong.
Something most certainly seems to have gone wrong.
Something most certainly had gone very badly wrong with Sancho's presence of mind. He had not only forgotten all about the letter he was supposed to have delivered all those weeks before, but he'd also forgotten the name of Aldonza Lorenzo, the young girl whom Don Quixote had idealized into his remote and demanding mistress. He needed to have time to think some solution out. Early the next morning, with Don Quixote securely established in the woods outside the village, Sancho Panza on his donkey rode slowly back towards their houses, gloomily cogitating, and looking about on all sides for something to give him a notion. He saw nothing but 3 young women, also mounted on donkeys, coming briskly down the road in his direction.
Well, don't know who they are, but there's 1 on 'em, and then 2, and if I can't fix an enchantment out of that, I'm not fit to be a squire. Right, get up.
He kicked his animal and returned to his master at great speed.
Don Quixote! Don Quixote, she's coming now!
What? Where? Who?
Dulcinea with a pair of damsels! Look! Upon the piebald palfreys!
Palfreys? Palfreys? Palfreys are what ladies ride upon, you foolish man, and I can assure you I don't see any.
Over there, sir, all mantled in crimson cloth and gold!
Nonsense! 3 dirty wenches upon decidedly underfed donkeys. What on earth are you talking about?
Shh! Here they come. Oh, master! Don't tell me that Freston, the vile enchanter, has put you under another of his spells.
Oh, surely not. Oh, not now, not now, at the moment of my greatest felicity. It could be, Sancho. It could be that this indeed is Dulcinea. Indeed, now you mention it, I do seem to discern the cloth of gold, the brocaded raiment.
Oh, speak to her, sir. Speak to her before she goes past.
Nay, stay, peerless lady. Oh, thou extreme of all that is valuable, sole balm to this disconsolate heart that adores thee.
Get out of the road, you nasty old devil, making game of a working girl. It's only after the one thing.
Don't take no notice of him. Strike up your donkey. Get away from him, quick.
In her haste to escape, the first of the 3 girls fell suddenly...
Ow! Bloody hellfire!
...out of the saddle. Don Quixote ran to help her, but she scornfully saved him the trouble.
Go on, bugger off!
Retiring 2 or 3 steps backward, she took a little run, then clapping both hands on the crupper, jumped into place lighter than a falcon, and galloped away stride-saddle like a man in his breeches.
If that was really Dulcinea, she smelt remarkably strongly of garlic.
She smelt? You mean these enchanters can even change over the sense of smell as well as of sight? Or maybe it's not you that's under enchantment, but her. Mind you, they're dead clever, shoving that great ugly mole on your lady's upper lip the size of a crown piece.
Yes, I did notice the mole. It is usual for a mole upon the face to be duplicated by another one on the fleshy part of the thigh in an exactly equivalent location. Oh, Sancho, this is not an agreeable meditation. This enchanter has totally poisoned my concept of Dulcinea, and I fear if it were not for me, she would never have suffered such appalling metamorphosis. My enemies, Sancho, are striking at me through her. What can I do to save her? From now on, I will not rest till I have discovered and applied the antidote to this cruel magic. Come, my friend, let us depart. Carry the burden of our sorrow to the tournament at Saragossa. Oh, I never had the chance to deliver to her my poem.
They camped overnight in a wood beside the road. Don Quixote was lying under an oak tree, neither asleep nor awake, dreaming, or believing he was dreaming, of knights-errant adventures, beautiful ladies, and songs of love.
Oh, lady, say, what must I do? What rule must I obey? That I can prove my love for you and serve you night and day.
No, I am not dreaming. Wide awake. There's a man in the woods singing songs to an instrument.
For life or death, my fate is set upon your will alone. My heart is soft as wax, my courage hard as a diamond stone.
Sancho, wake up! There's a wandering knight over there singing songs of an amorous despair.
None but you, oh none but you, can tell me, lady, what to do. None but you, oh none but you, can tell
Quiet,
me,
Sancho,
lady,
quiet.
what to do.
I think we may have here a most promising adventure.
In a moonlit glade sat the musician, his lute on his lap, his horse tied to a tree, his lance and his shield beside him. He raised his head to heaven and uttered forth his complaint.
O thou most beautiful... O thou most beautiful and most ungrateful of womankind! O divine Castildea de Vandilia, how long wilt thou suffer thy captive knight to waste away under intolerable burden and toil?
Excuse me, worthy sir.
I am overheard. Who goes there, and what are you? Of the number of the happy or of the afflicted? Speak.
Of the afflicted.
By reason of love?
By reason of most tragical love and enchantment.
Sir, we meet as brothers, and should at once exchange our histories. I am the Knight of the Mirrors. I am in love with the peerless Castildea de Vandilia, in obedience to whose commands I have encompassed innumerable labours, slain giants, overcome monsters, vanquished divers false knights, and all to no avail.
To no avail?
To no avail. She still despises me, even though in single combat I threw from his horse the boldest knight in all the world, and compelled him to confess that my mistress is 3 times as fair as his own.
The boldest knight in all the world? Who is that? Does he still live?
His name, sir, was Don Quixote, the knight of the rueful countenance. And I neither know nor care whether he lives or dies, for since his overthrow, all his exploits stand credited to my account.
To your account?
To my account. It is the custom.
Yes, of course. Of course, I knew that. But may I tell you, your biography is, without offence, sir, scarcely accurate.
Sir!
Indeed, sir. I will repeat it. I am very well acquainted with Don Quixote, and he has never been overthrown by you
Or anyone else.
Sancho, pray leave it to me. Don Quixote, I reiterate, has never been overthrown by anyone calling himself the Knight of the Mirrors. The only explanation consonant with your honour is that somebody was enchanted, and the natural result was a mistaken identity. If you don't accept that...
I do not accept that!
You leave me no alternative but immediately to declare myself. Behold, sir, Don Quixote in person, and no substitute. If you are not afraid, you will justify your boast here and now upon my body.
I most certainly will. My only stipulation... we wait until daylight.
Indeed, until daylight, for I long to look upon your false face.
The dawn of the day, however, revealed no false face, but a strong-made man in full armour with his visor closed. All over his surcoat he wore a pattern of little mirrors, reflecting the brilliant sunlight that came streaming among the trees. Both he and Don Quixote mounted their horses, trotted away to take up position, levelled their lances, and...
Charge!
The Knight of the Mirrors was flung straight over his horse's crupper and lay like a dead man on the ground. Sancho ran over to him. His helmet had broken open. His face was exposed, all covered in blood.
Oh, sir. Sir, your worship, why, look at him. He just looks like...
Looks exactly like...
It can't be. It's an enchantment.
It's a cunning enchantment deliberately got up as to make the enchanted look exactly the same as
Samson Carrasco. Good God, it's uncanny.
Stick your sword down his throat and get rid of his horrible magic.
I will indeed. Deceiving me in such a shape.
No, Don Quixote, no. No, I'm truly your friend, the graduate.
Liar, triple liar.
No, please.
Though, as it may be that you have been enchanted and are not an enchanter yourself, I think I will spare you your life, provided you at once confess that knight you threw off his horse was not Don Quixote.
I confess it. I
that
confess.
my lady Dulcinea excels far in beauty, your Castle de Vandilia.
I do confess it. She excels.
And that you yourself, though resembling the admirable Carrasco, are a poltroon and an impostor.
An impostor, I confess.
Very well. That will do. So, off you go. To El Toboso. Go. Present yourself to Dulcinea with the usual message. Go. Sancho, we resume our road.
The graduate, bruised and shaking, staggered to his feet and watched after them as they rode away. He held on to a tree to support himself.
Oh, it would have worked if it hadn't been for my bloody fool horse. Of course, if it had worked and I had overthrown him, undoubtedly I could have forced him to take oath as a vanquished man to return to his village and never ride out for another 2 years, by which time he would surely be in his right mind, or else dead. All things equal, it was a very good notion. How the devil was I to know that my bloody fool horse was... The question seems to be, though, who's now the lunatic? Him or me? Oh, I shall have to think of something else. Oh my God, I need a doctor.
For the Knight of the Rueful Countenance, it was scarcely possible to meet anyone without creating some sort of adventure. Cid Hamet Benengeli gives a list of these strange happenings. One or two of them seem to me to have an especial interest. First, then, the Adventure of the Lions, or might not one say the non-adventure of the lions, because nobody for a change was hurt. Don Quixote and his squire came up with a menagerie wagon, hung about with gaudy flags. It was stopped by the roadside and contained 2 powerful and beautiful lions from the deserts of Africa. 1 male and 1 female in separate compartments.
They belong to the king, sir. They've been sent as a particular present from the General of Iran. I'm taking them to Madrid for His Majesty's collection.
Are they fierce?
Oh, terrible fierce, yes. Gobble you up in an instant. Here, which reminds me, it's close on feeding time, and that's what we term a most dangerous proceeding. So I'll be obliged if you keep out of the way.
Are you seriously suggesting that I'm afraid of a mere lion? And I don't believe your story about the king for one moment. These creatures have been sent here by Freston, the enchanter, to put my courage to the test. I assure you I shall not quail from it. Open the cage. Let them out.
Look here, no, sir. Don't take no notice, my master.
Yeah, he's mad, isn't he?
Oh, no, he's not mad. He's going to give me an island. Eh? But he's that fond of needless glory, I do have to protect him.
Ah, you do, yeah. And I have to protect the property of the king. So stand back, the pair of you. Now, get out of the road.
Oh, no. I level my lance. If you do not open the cage, I will nail you to your own axle-tree with the forged point of my redoubted weapon.
There was no one in sight on the wide-open, empty plain. As between Don Quixote and the lions, the keeper, who knew his animals, was more afraid of Don Quixote.
We're under protest. Mind that. Any claim for compensation for any injury or loss, I trust you to be answerable. If you're still alive to answer it.
Your worship, don't force him. This is no enchantment. They are real lions, your worship. I can smell them.
So can Rocinante. I shall dismount and face them on foot with my sword. Take him off, Sancho. Make yourself scarce.
Come on, lad. Come on. Come on now. Come on.
Very well. I am in place. Keeper, open the last bolt.
The male lion in the front of the cage turned himself round, stretched one of his paws, put his claws out, and roused himself. Showed his teeth, licked his chops, glared terribly at Don Quixote with eyes like coals of fire, and then slowly turned away, until all that the knight could see was the humiliating detail of his feral posteriors.
He's lying down. He's going to sleep. Keeper, stir him up. Give him a blow with your stick. Drive him out to meet his adversary in fair fight like a man.
He's not a man, he's a wild beast, and he does what he thinks best. Right, I'm shutting him up again. Yeah. You challenged him, he didn't respond. Your courage is therefore proof that you can make what you like out of his.
You really recommend, then, that honour is satisfied? Oh, maybe so, maybe so. I would, however, be grateful for an affidavit to that effect. Sancho, it's all over. Honour is satisfied. Come back here. This worthy fellow will inform His Majesty what has happened. When His Majesty inquires who it was that did the deed, be so good as to say to him, the Knight of the Rueful Count... No, from now on I shall style myself the Knight of the Lions. And if anyone asks for proof of it, the affidavit will suffice.
A few miles further on was the remarkable natural phenomenon known as the Cave of Montesinos. A local scholar, reputed an authority on this complex of potholes, cheerfully undertook to accompany Don Quixote upon a sightseeing visit.
Tell me, these caves, are there visions available inside them?
The rural people believe that some of Charlemagne's old paladins are still entombed there, fast asleep.
But you don't believe it. May I hope to refute your agnosticism this very evening? Are we not there yet? Where are these caves?
The first entrance is just over here, among these brambles.
Hey, this isn't a cave. It's a pit. I'm not going down there. How on earth did we ever get out?
That is why we brought the ropes. If you and I, my friend, lower your master down, we can also haul him up again. And you don't have to descend at all yourself if you don't want to.
Oh, dear me, I don't.
Now, sir, is the rope secure round your armpits?
Yes.
Your waist?
Yes.
Your servant holds that end.
Right.
I'll hold on to this. 1, 2, 3, over you go.
Careful now. Steady. All right, clear below. Swing me out a little bit. Lower away. He's been down there half an hour. Your worship! Don Quixote! Don't you think we should pull him up again?
There are noxious fumes and gases down there. I ought to have mentioned them, really.
Hey!
You're right, we should pull him up. Heave.
Right, Hey, there's no weight on this line.
Keep on hauling.
Oh, he's disappeared. He's spirited away. He's...
The hole for your life. Now at last I can feel his weight. Heave away now. 1, 2, 1, 2, heave.
Here he comes. Master, are you safe? Are you safe and sound?
Seems to be in a trance.
Oh, my friends, may heaven forgive you. Such a dream, such a vision, such a paradise you have dragged me out of to the brute discomforts of this wearisome world.
You saw a vision? An enchantment?
Sancho, I saw down there. Oh, I saw her, Dulcinea. She lives among the paladins, enchanted everlastingly.
Oh, so how was she... Well, her shape...
Alas, as she was in the fields near El Toboso, in the rags of a garlic and sweat-stinking peasant girl with her 2 coarse companions, leaping and skipping in a pasture like wild young goats. She did not speak to me,
But the multitude present inform me that she has not been there long, and is most desperate to be restored to her own unimpeachable shape.
The multitude? Who were they?
Oh, Queen Guinevere, the wizard Merlin, Montesinos, the companion of Roland, hundreds. They're all there. One of the damsels attendant upon Dulcinea was able to approach me. She told me her mistress needed a loan of some half-dozen reals and would offer her petticoat as security. I only had 4 reals in my pocket. I gave them to her for what they were worth. Of course, I didn't take her petticoat. That would have been most improper. It was all she had on. Sancho, are you laughing? Can it be that you do not believe me? You know perfectly well I had 4 reals in my pocket.
Oh, yes, sir, I know.
My pocket is now empty. Observe. Is that not evidence? Where could they be if I had not given them to the damsel?
What did she say when you did give them to her?
Ah, but the enchantment is strong. She cut a caper, turned an indecent cartwheel, and raced away hooting with laughter. But I swore I should encompass the deliverance of my liege lady. I swore it, and I will keep my oath.
Cid Hamed Benengeli maintains that Don Quixote admitted on his deathbed that he had invented every circumstance of his vision in the cave. The Moorish scholar, however, I had found in Toledo, who prepared for me the rough translation of the Arabic work, told me that he believes Benengeli to be mistaken. And to my mind, the weightlessness at the end of the rope and the evidence of the 4 missing reals would appear to be conclusive. But then I am also a Christian like Don Quixote, and perhaps partial. However this may be, Don Quixote himself remained doubtful of the validity of his vision until the next evening, in front of a roadside inn, he had the opportunity of confirming his perhaps addled memory. There was a travelling puppet master who appended to his act a diversion that he called
The Prophesying Ape! This ingenious talking animal, ladies and gentlemen, has prophesied voraciously in no less than 5 languages before the crowned heads of Europe. All you need to do is to cross his palm with silver, ask him any question you like, and he will immediately utter the answer correct in every particular.
Hey! I have a question! My wife, Teresa Panther. Ask him what my wife is up to at this moment.
Are you sure you want to know, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, but you haven't crossed his palm, have you?
Oh, right. Here.
2 reals.
Oh.
Thank you, sir. Here we go.
Shh, quiet.
He's beginning to tell me already.
Oh.
Which of the 5 languages is he talking in, then? Blow me up, I understand a word of what he's saying.
And that's because it's double Dutch, as appropriate to the present company. Wait a moment.
Yeah?
Let me interpret. Good Lord. Good heavens. Good gracious mercy me.
What?
He tells me, ladies and gentlemen, we are honoured tonight by none other than the masterful Don Quixote de la Mancha. Oh, that's you, sir. Take a bow.
Thank you,
And Sancho Panza, his sagacious squire.
That's me!
Oh, such an incomparable pair of celebrities. The ingenious ape will, of course, perform gratis.
Oh, that's generous. What's he say?
Just a minute, all in good time, sir. Ah, yes. Oh, indeed. No, sir, your good wife is exceedingly well and behaving herself. Yes? She's teasing out a pound of flax, and she has in her left hand a large broken-mouthed jug with some wine in it to cheer her spirits. Am I right, sir? You be the judge.
How on earth could he tell that? It's exact what she does every evening of the week. Mike, I've never heard the line.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, leave us a minute to get set up and we'll give you the complete puppet show.
We're happy the basket.
No, not that one, halfway, the big one, over there.
Sancho, I am sorely afraid that this plausible person has made a compact with the devil. I have a distinct feeling the Holy Inquisition should be invited to look into this.
Yes, sir, very like, but if so be the devil's telling him all truth and no falsehood, like seems to be the case, then how can it be the devil, with the devil being the father of lies?
Oh, yes, of course.
And if he's telling truth, like seems to be the case, why don't you ask him about that vision in the cave?
Yes, then I'll know for certain and be no more disturbed by it.
Excuse me, sir. A question.
Oh, no, sir. He speaks no more. The virtue's gone out of him. Your intended question is too mysterious. All right, then. Over to you.
I am more than ever convinced that Dulcinea was really there. I am more determined than ever that...
Roll up, roll up! The sublime demonstration by these more than lifelike puppets is about to commence. Our drama is entitled The Great War, ladies and gentlemen, between the chivalry of Christendom and the barbaric hordes of Moorish Africa.
It was unfortunate that at one stage in the puppet show, a Christian lady was shown to be cruelly abducted by a lecherous and gloating Moor. Don Quixote could not contain himself. He pulled out his sword and he slashed and he cut.
Aha! Never fear, gracious lady. The Knight of the Lions will defend your honor.
In the end, it cost Don Quixote 5 1/4 reals compensation for the puppets he had cleft in twain.
Plus, if you don't mind, sir, another 2 reals 12 for the Lady Melisandre, what you cut the nose off and knocked out her eye. Look at her, bloody well hacked to pieces. Will you look at her?
No, not the lady. I rescued her, don't you see? While I was destroying the Moors, she made her escape into France. Fair dealing, if you please, and don't try to cheat.
And so, to the next adventure. One most decisive in the development of our story. Cid Hamet Benengeli has entitled this episode The Adventure of the Fair Huntress. And fair she was indeed. A young lady, all in green on a spirited white horse with silver and green accoutrements, rode gaily through a green meadow amongst a party of ladies and gentlemen. They had hawks on their wrists with jingling bells. They laughed and talked and delighted themselves with the pleasures of the open air. Don Quixote was in an ecstasy.
Behold, it is all true, as precise as one sees it painted in those beautiful old books before they began printing them. Iseult of the White Hands, the fair maiden of Astolat.
For the lady he was looking at was a duchess, no less, and, moreover, a veritable duchess who loved her books as much as her hunting. She had read every one of the adventures of Don Quixote I had already had published. And as soon as she saw him watching her from his horse at the edge of the wood, she knew who it was.
Why, this must be the gentleman who has devoted the whole of his life to his unrequited, non-possessive, all-possessing love for his phantasma Dulcinea. We can't just let him come here and go.
No.
We'll have to make something out of him. Well, you know who he is. You've all read the book. Let's put ourselves, why not, into the pages of Volume 2. Somebody go and fetch him. Tell him he is most welcome and that nothing could afford me greater pleasure than to talk to him.
Her husband, the Duke, arrived and was speedily acquainted with the identity of his visitor.
If the illustrious Knight of the Rueful Countenance would vouchsafe
Knight
to
of
accept
the Lions, your worship, your dukeship, your...
Sancho, your grace is the usual term for a duke.
Oh, your grace, right. Your grace!
Yeah.
We're the Knight of the Lions now, not any more the countenance. The rueful countenance is out of date since the end of last week.
Well, my apologies indeed. I have not been informed. Nonetheless, if the illustrious Knight of the Lions would vouchsafe to accept my humble hospitality, the Duchess and I will be pleased to accompany him forthwith to my modest castle, where all appropriate entertainment shall be afforded him for as long as he wishes.
Thank you, Your Grace. Your Grace, after you.
No, sir. After you. One or two of you be so good as to attend Don Quixote. And make sure that his horse doesn't fall down, for goodness sake.
They set off for the castle in a decorous procession.
I do hope, my dear, you don't intend to make too much fun of him. There is something about him that could cause me to feel ashamed if I thought that he thought we were not taking him seriously.
My love, I intend to take him very seriously indeed. He lives in a dream, and in a dream he should be dreamt of. My dreams for the past few years have been more or less of nothing. I would wish to correct that. We were proposing, after all, to celebrate the anniversary of our marriage with a sumptuous masque. I have been unable to think of a suitable theme.
A mask about nothing is nothing.
Exactly so. Can we perhaps make it something? Dulcinea does not exist, but by God, she is more than I am. Will you look at that grizzled old head? Inside it she swoops like an albatross.
We do have the actors already in the castle, and the musicians, and the materials for the costumes.
And the dream. He believes in it. We used to. Let us give it a shape and form.
As soon as they approached the castle, the Duke went on ahead. By the time Don Quixote had arrived at the gateway, a most ceremonious troop of servants in glittering livery were lined up to receive him. Two beautiful ladies-in-waiting threw a long scarlet mantle over Don Quixote's meagre shoulders, and he was led by no less than 6 of them across the splendid courtyard. The entire company went down on one knee.
Thrice welcome, gallant knight! You are welcome to the castle of our lord, the great Duke.
Never was knight so nobly attended as Don Quixote in this castle by such preclair and refulgent pulchritude. I adapt the quotation, as you're no doubt aware, ladies, from the romance of Sir Lancelot.
Be pleased to enter the hall, gentle knight.
Oh.
5 steps to the threshold, gentle knight. Don't trip over the rope. Too late. Not at all. I've caught him in my arms. Oh, so handsome a bird.
So adorable a portress to bear the burden beneath this roof.
There was some small dispute of courtesies as to precedence in sitting to table.
After you, Your Grace.
Not at all. After you.
Not at all. You are my host. The duties of knight-errantry.
Not at all. You are the guest of honor.
Oh.
Pray, assume the head of the table.
Thank you.
At length, they had him seated between Duchess and Duke, with their senior chaplain directly opposite. Sancho Panza, squire, stood behind his master's chair.
There's always such a deal of nonsense about who's to sit where. Like a tale, I can tell you.
No, not here.
No. An acute critic of social hypocrisies is always worth listening to. By all means, let him continue.
Like a tale I could tell you would show you my meaning, ma'am. Like, in our own village, there was this gentleman of the family of the Alamos de Medina del Campo, he was, and he was married now to Donna Mencia de Quinone, as you remember, sir. She was the daughter of Don Alonso de Maranon, on account of his drowning in the river one day, out of which grew this quarrel. Now, didn't it, sir? You were involved in it, and that chap, young Tommy, the son of the farrier...
Any chance that this anecdote will prove as veracious as it is already intolerable?
I assure you, Reverend Father, he rambles without my permission. Sancho, be silent.
No, sir, the Duchess is anxious to hear it all, aren't you, ma'am?
Well, yes.
Well, as I was saying, this gentleman took it into his head to ask this local farmer to come and take supper with him. The farmer, being honest, but not all that
For mercy's sake, fellow, will you come to the point?
All right. So, you see, there was all this nonsense, after you, sir, and oh, sir, after you. Pray, take the head of the table, sir, and all of that. You know how it goes.
Oh, I think we do, yes.
And finally, in the end, the gentleman can take no more of it. He grabs hold of the farmer, a hand on each shoulder, and forces him to the head of the table. Right, he says, wooden head. Sit down and shut up. As far as you're concerned, the head of this table is wherever I'm sat, and that's it. He says, "Sit down," he says. Woodenhead, sit down and shut up, because wherever I'm sat, he says... It's him.
Thank you, Sancho. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution to this courtly banquet.
No, don't rebuke him, please.
I think he has corrected us very adequately, don't you, Father?
To be frank, Your Grace, I do not. And to be equally frank, I much regret the encouragement by Your Grace of this pair of hallucinating boobies.
Huh?
You, sir, I'm alluding to you.
What?
The duties of knight-errantry, indeed. Your duty is to go back home and attend to the welfare of your children, if you have any, your estates, your dependents.
Sir! Sir!
No, please, I'm sure the Reverend Father never intended to...
As a clergyman, he is not permitted to defend himself physically. Without the possibility of obtaining satisfaction, there can be no offence taken. So, therefore, I take none. I merely recommend to him the Christian charity implicit in his cloth and its requirements in everyday intercourse. There, I say no more.
Very good, sir. Very true. And I'd like to ask the clergyman, if he don't approve of knight-errants, who's going to redress all the wrongs in the world, and look after just government?
Yes. I suppose you're the simple fellow we've heard so much about as expecting to be governor of an island.
It has been promised, aye. When we get to Saragossa and we win the great tournament.
But surely there is no need to wait until Saragossa.
Indeed not. My good friend, I have islands and to spare in my dukedom, and most gladly I would invest you with the command of one of them this very moment.
Oh no, sir, not really. Not this very moment. Oh, it's too much.
Why, Sancho, this is marvellous. Far more than you deserve. Down on your knees, you rogue, at once. Kiss the feet of his grace. My goodness me. And her grace. Humbly give thanks for their unprecedented favour.
Then and there was Sancho Panza, with all formality, appointed governor of the island of Barataria, to be properly inducted into his dominions in a few days' time. That evening, the Duchess took occasion to have a private word with him. She was particularly interested to hear his account of the enchantment of Dulcinea.
If you really want to be a governor, sir, you had better tell me the truth.
Oh, yes, my lady, yes.
You admit, do you not, that you deliberately pretended that girl on the donkey was Dulcinea? In short, you deceived your master.
Well, what else could I do, ma'am? He was that set on meeting her.
So how do you account for his vision in the cave? And how do you account for the ingenious talking monkey?
Ah, well now, in them two cases there was definite enchantment.
So, how do you know that you yourself were not enchanted into the belief you were deceiving your master?
Oh. I don't. No, I never thought of that.
So there really is a Dulcinea, and she really is under a spell. And if you had delivered that letter when you were told to all those months ago, the poor girl would be perfectly happy in her own shape and as beautiful as when she was born.
Oh, my God, my lady, you're dead right. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it's all my fault. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
His conscience was still bothering him 2 or 3 days afterwards, when the Duke and Duchess took Don Quixote, of course accompanied by Sancho, on an elaborate hunting party, followed by a picnic in the forest. It was dusk. They sat about, eating and drinking, listening to amorous music, waiting for the moon to rise.
What are those drums?
Drums? There are no drums. I ordered only the consort of viol.
No, listen. Drums, definitely drums, over there in the forest. This way. No, don't be alarmed. It can't be the Turks. We're far too far inland. And besides, we're well guarded. Captain, keep your soldiers at readiness, if you please.
Your Grace.
Don Quixote, pray take care of the safety of the ladies.
Your Grace. Ladies, I beg you, do not be alarmed. Gentlemen, stand to your weapons.
It was, however, no Turk that bounded so suddenly out of the dark trees, but an amazing procession of devils, demons, gods and goddesses, fabulous animals, and radiant nymphs, all crowding in the glare of innumerable torches. Those of you familiar with the canvases of Rubens or the sublime Titian can well imagine the scene. Enthroned upon a chariot rode a lady, white and gold, in a bewilderment of unfathomable transparencies, no less beautiful than prescient Venus upon the Cyprian shore. Beside her, a grim figure, Death in his black robe, pointing with skeletal arm toward the appalled Don Quixote.
All living creatures subject unto me are happy only in mortality. For if they cannot die, they cannot live. Knight of the Lions, thou alone canst give again her mortal shape to Dulcinea, trapped as she is in ugliness forever. Here, by my magic, 'neath the rising moon, I briefly manifest her beauty.
His bony finger now creeping over the very bosom of the veiled lady.
I briefly manifest her beauty that too soon the adversary magic hath bereft her of. Thus, as thou seest her, she could live. Thy love, thy inspiration of venereal fire, the consummation of thy heart's desire.
Oh!
Stand back! This is illusion! Do not touch her! Sir Knight, would you know how to achieve the reality?
Oh, God, I would do anything.
Then let your most negligent slave, Sancho Panza, there he cowers.
Oh, no, not me.
Let Sancho Panza receive upon his oversized and uncovered buttocks 3,300 lashes in reward for his carelessness.
Oh.
And Dulcinea del Toboso will be immediately released.
Yeah, no, certainly not. I'll be damned if I do.
Spawn of a strumpet, you'll be damned if you do not. Why, I myself will wield the whip upon your unworthy hindquarters.
No, by his own hand. And you must ensure that he does it.
The veiled lady arose from her throne.
For shame, gross cowardly knave! For shame, and for the sake of your long-suffering master.
Sancho, I beg you, afford yourself some self-respect.
I cannot appoint a governor who has no self-respect.
So, what else could he do but submit to the heavy penance? After all, it was to be by his own hand.
Oh, dear.
And no doubt he would be able to select his own time and place.
And Sancho, if you spare to lay on the lashes with full force, I may be redeemed from the enchantment, but your master shall never again be permitted to set eyes upon my face.
And with that, and a clap of thunder, and a great burst of outlandish music, the mysterious visitation disappeared into the depths of the forest.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are awestruck. We do not applaud.
The very next morning, Sancho Panza dictated a letter to his wife.
I gave myself 5 lashes already. They didn't hurt. For only a few thousand more, I'm fixed right up to form a government. I dare say there's money in it, but I can't tell you yet. I'll have to take a look at the island first, won't I? The donkey is well, and the Duchess very kindly gave me a new suit of clothes, which herewith to you forwarded. There should be enough good cloth in it to make a bodice and skirt for our dear daughter. I'll let you know the best time to come and join me in my government. As this leaves me, I am your husband, the governor. 20th July, 1614.
Sancho, very shortly His Grace the Great Duke will present you to your new subjects.
Yes, Your Worship.
Now, this governorship is an office of enormous responsibility. My own reputation will be affected by your conduct. Now, a few precepts to bear in mind.
Yes.
First, the tears of the poor should arouse in you more compassion, though not more justice, than the representations of the rich. In either case, be adamant to sift out the truth. Second, the reputation of a severe judge is not equal to that of a merciful one. Third, do not take bribes. Now, finally, keep yourself cleanly and smart. Do not eat garlic. Do not get drunk. Do not indulge yourself in ridiculous long stories. And never be inhibited by the lowliness of your origins. So long as you're a good governor, nobody will care who your father was. Is that clear?
Oh, yes, sir.
Good. God bless you, my dear friend. Do your best. I'm sure you will. Oh, Sancho, how many lashes have you given yourself today?
Well, I've not quite got around to it yet.
Sancho?
Directly, sir. Yes. Oh, dear.
Don Quixote decided he ought not to accompany Sancho to the island, lest he should seem to be that most sinister political phenomenon, the hidden power behind the throne. Instead, he remained in the castle, suffering certain inconveniences from the absence of his squire.
Riding boots now, where are they? No, where's he put them? Riding boots. Oh, riding boots.
He was also most deeply disturbed by a mischievous young lady-in-waiting called Altisidora, who pretended to his horror that she had fallen in love with him. At night she sang songs underneath his bedroom window.
Don Quixote, are you there?
What? Who is it? Who is there?
Don Quixote, how can you ask? Though I am but 14 years of age, my youth and beauty do not scorn. In my maiden breast such love will rage as makes me wish I'd never been born.
Good heavens. 14 years old and as shameless as a bitch in heat. Oh, let me think of nothing but Dulcinea, or else this temptation, these lecherous imaginings.
Benengeli, the Arabian, has recorded a profuse account of the island of Barataria and Sancho Panza's administration there. The Duke had provided him with a trustworthy steward to act as political and legal adviser.
Is that it? I always thought that an island was surrounded by water. This here to me looks more like a village.
Your Excellency, it is a village. We call it an island because it is surrounded, as you see, by the surrounding countryside.
Aye, well, that seems to make some sort of sense.
There are 1,000 inhabitants.
Aye, and they're ringing the church bells. That'll be for me, I dare say.
It will indeed, and the town council is already assembled. I suggest we go straight through the crowd to the town hall and introduce ourselves.
Gentlemen, His Excellency the Duke's Governor, Don Sancho Panza. He will preside over the first of the current sessions of the High Court of Barataria.
Fellow townsmen, 3 cheers for His Excellency the Governor! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip!
Yes, all right. That'll do. Get sat down. Now, I'm not to waste time with stories, and I'm not taking no bribes. So let's have the first case.
2 aged peasants, Your Excellency. A sort of dispute about money.
Your Excellency, I lent to this nasty old man 10 golden crowns and he won't pay me back.
I demand to make a deposition upon oath. Where's book? Here, Your Excellency, tell this crooked old bugger to hold me walking stick while I take oath.
All right, you. Hold his walking stick.
Right, then. I solemnly swear that I gave him his 10 crowns back and all he says to Your Excellency is all lies.
Oh? Now, that's an oath. You do know it's very serious, that, upon oath. So what have you got to say now? Are you accusing him of perjury?
If he says it upon oath, I suppose it's the truth. If he did give it me back, I don't know what happened to it. I don't recollect him ever giving me anything.
You don't?
No, not a thing.
What's that you've got there, then?
This?
Oh, it's his walking stick. He just gave it me to...
Mr. Clerk, take a look at that there walking stick, would you mind? See anything odd about it?
Yes, sir. The handle's loose.
Will it unscrew? Oh, it will it? Oh, right. So what's inside it? Now, don't tell me, I'll tell you. 10 golden crowns. You villainous old codger, don't you ever play any tricks the like of that in my courtroom again, or I don't know what I'll do. I'll abuse you and insult you from the bench, that's what I'll do, even if they strip me of my governorship for doing it.
Many and various were the causes that were brought before Sancho to judge, and through all of 10 days he never failed of a solution. It did cross his mind that some of the disputes might perhaps not be quite genuine, but amongst all of them he detected one clearly egregious tendency.
The amount of miserable money grubbing that goes on in this place is a right scandal. I don't believe there's fair dealing from the beginning of the week till the end. All this will have to change. Mr. Clerk.
Sir.
What these people want is some regular regulations to keep down their gobbling greed.
He began to compile them in high delight at his own sagacity.
Right, Mr. Clerk, next case. Well, slap it about, I want me dinner.
No more cases tonight, sir.
Thank God for that, then. Right. The court's closed.
The upstanding for His Excellency the Governor!
Just before you go, sir, 2 documents for your attention. The first is a letter from the Duke.
Oh, well, that's important. It's very dark in here, isn't it? You'd best read it out to me.
He says, My dear Governor, it is reliably reported to me that a large force of unknown enemies are preparing an attack on your island.
Good God, who can they be?
He doesn't say, sir. He merely concludes, be on your guard and particularly take care of your own life.
How? Life? How am I to do that? Damn it, man, I've not even got a suit of armour. What am I to do?
I suggest, sir, you parade the militia.
Very well. Parade the militia.
Parade the militia!
Parade the militia! And give orders to the quartermaster!
Go on, then, somebody do it!
Give orders to the quartermaster!
Give orders to the
My God, if I lose the Duke's Island for him, I'm disgraced. What's the other paper?
The transcript of your dictation, sir, for the civic regulations.
Ah, now that I understand. There, we're on safe ground. Read them out.
There's the detailed provisions for the fixing of wages and prices.
I want everyone to be able to buy what he can afford and all the excess profits to go to the unemployed.
Quite right, sir. And your strict rules against the watering of wine, the adulteration of flour, card sharps in the public houses.
Good. Give me the pen. I'll make me mark on it directly. Hey, what's this?
Your military armour, sir, in case of alarm. Hold your arms up, so, and we can strap it around here.
This won't do. It don't fit at all. I'm like a tortoise in this. I can't bloody well move.
Now, a little bit tighter, Your Excellency. Hold up the elbow, and we'll put another strap round your legs and round here.
Who is it? What is it? What's happening? I can't bloody move. Can't see a damn thing. They've jammed this bloody helmet that far down on me head.
The entire force of militia, roaring out into the street, knocked Sancho down and trampled him into the town hall threshold. The noise of battle continued unrelenting until...
Your Excellency, you have prevailed. Are you safe? Are you unhurt in this moment of supreme triumph?
Against who? What? Where? I never saw anyone. I've been flat on this doorstep like a cowpat since it started.
Nonetheless, it is a victory. Now, let me assist you to your feet. A great victory. We have prevailed.
Oh, aye, maybe you have, but not me. Not Brother Sancho. Justice I may have a taste for. Civic regulations, why not? It only needs common sense. But defence of the realm and leadership, I've made myself a bloody fool. No, you best go tell the Duke. If it had been left up to me, I'd have lost him his island. But you can also tell the Duke that I came to this job a poor man, and I'm leaving it a poor man. I made not a penny out of anyone else's pocket. And moreover, I've sorted out dishonest shops and cheating taverns. I can't do better than that. And with that being how it stands, I've nought else to do but give over. To the Duke, my resignation.
Don Quixote, are you there? I'm standing outside in my nightgown.
Oh, the sinful flesh cannot endure it. Oh, my poor dear child, will you please go away?
Night of the Lions, Altisidora longs only to scratch and stroke your grizzled hair.
Oh, good heavens, I shall be caught in the most embarrassing juxtaposition.
And wrap my rounded arms like milk-white thongs about your sinews and your haunches bare.
Oh.
Don Quixote, are you there?
What am I to do? It is the Duke.
It is myself and the Duchess. We have news for you. Please, open the door.
Oh dear. Oh. Your Grace, I am at a disadvantage. I am only half dressed. Sancho.
Why, your worship, where's your breeches?
Our governor has returned.
Nay, I've resigned.
Don Quixote, he has returned. He has acquitted himself with great honour.
The people of Barataria have never been so well governed in the whole of history. They've said so in a letter to me, their liege lord.
Oh, Sancho, I am so proud of you. Embrace me, my dear friend.
I didn't make a penny out of it.
But be assured the Duke takes care. He and his family are to be well rewarded.
Like, though I have been a bit too busy to accumulate all them lashes.
Oh, but you will, in good time, before we reach Saragossa.
Don Quixote,
Oh.
I'm still beneath your window.
Oh, who is that?
Nothing at all, Your Grace, nothing at all. I believe it to be a libidinous illusion. Sancho, we prepare ourselves. The jousts at Saragossa.
He never got to Saragossa. The reason was peculiar. Before he left the Duke's castle, a book was thrust into his hand.
The second part of the life and adventures of Don Quixote, the ingenious gentleman, by somebody calling himself Avellaneda de Tordesillas.
Of course there is no such name. It is an obvious and provocative disguise. The identity behind it, if it is not Lope de Vega, must be an individual or maybe a clique exceedingly close to him. This nugatory volume is totally unauthorized, and only on the market because my ill health has unfortunately prevented me completing my second volume time and time again. 7 years I've been at it, and to have this at the very end, or very near the very end. But Don Quixote himself will confound them. Will you read it, Don Quixote?
This is totally unauthorized, and furthermore, it's a pack of lies. The fellow even claims that I went to Saragossa and behaved like the basest clown before everyone in the tournament. If there is one place I cannot and will not frequent now, it is the city of Saragossa. Under no circumstances ever will I set foot between its gateposts. When they shall discover that I have not appeared at their festival, they will well understand the mendacity of this scurrilous rogue.
He discovered there was another festival with a tournament at Barcelona. So Barcelona was the town he would go to prove his valour. So he went. He was not disappointed. At Barcelona, on the Strand, had arrived an armoured warrior, well-equipped, magnificently mounted, bearing the device of a shining moon. He was waiting for Don Quixote. A huge crowd of people who had been reading the books, both my book and the pirated libel, enthusiastically brought Don Quixote down through the town to the seaside to meet him. The warrior made his challenge in a loud voice.
I am here today to challenge Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Of course, Lope de Vega is very well aware that I am released long ago from imprisonment and hardship through intervention of my patrons, who have also, by the grace of heaven, generously relieved my pecuniary embarrassment. Gall to all smooth rivals. Gall and wormwood to all the sophisticates who smear flattery like olive oil upon the half-baked loaf of Lope de Vega's talent. They have all but succeeded in their purpose, to divert me from the climax of my tale. But I'll prove them wrong. Upon the strand at Barcelona, the Knight of the White Moon gives voice to his challenge.
I am here today to challenge Don Quixote de la Mancha, to deny his excessive claims for his mistress Dulcinea, and to affirm that her alleged enchantment has been spuriously invented to conceal his humiliation at the fact that she is an ignorant peasant girl who has never had a word to say to him, good or bad.
They strike at her through me.
False knight, I accept your challenge.
Wait, if I win, you are at once to disarm yourself, to leave off your ridiculous adventures, and to remain in your own village for the period of a whole year. If you win, you can cut off my head. Accepted?
Accepted. Yes!
The Knight of the White Moon was the Knight of the Mirrors, was Samson Carrasco, the graduate, and the Duke had equipped him regardless of expense. He was younger, he was stronger, he had superior horse and gear. Within 10 seconds, Don Quixote was conceding defeat. If indeed his half-conscious murmurs as he lay spread-eagled on the sand could be construed as conceding anything.
I shall never deny the beauty of my lady Dulcinea.
Sir, I do not ask you to deny her beauty, but you must return to your village.
Kill me, sir. Kill me.
You accepted my conditions. Upon your honor, you must abide by them. Good people, do you bear witness?
It was sufficient. Upon his honor, Don Quixote could do no more. Sorrowfully, and yet proudly, for he knew he had been defeated through no failure of his courageous heart, he stripped off his battered armor, loaded it onto Sancho's donkey, and set his face towards home. After mile in silence.
Sancho, 3,300 lashes. How many left?
Oh, not very many, sir. A very minor proportion.
Sancho, how many?
3,285, sir, as a matter of fact, but...
Go into the wood over there, take down your breeches and flog yourself with your belt until the number is complete. I will turn my back and respect your privacy. Do it, for Dulcinea. Do it. Count the strokes aloud.
Sancho positioned himself very close to a tree trunk, so that every time he hit, it was the tree trunk that felt the blow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 550, 551. Oh.
Sancho, no, no, no. I cannot sit by and listen to this terrible, inhuman torture. Complete the lashes, Sancho, with mere touches, tickles, caresses. Do not hurt yourself any further, I beg. So long as she is safely released from the enchantment, I am resigned to the circumstance that I shall never be permitted to look upon her face. No carnal satisfaction can ever be worth such cruelty upon the body of my true and faithful friend.
And so, in this manner, was the flogging completed, and Sancho Panza felt no pain. Don Quixote's heart was broken, yet his conscience was set at rest. At this point, I find myself unexpectedly deprived of Cid Hamed Benengeli, or rather of my translator from the markets of Toledo. He has been thrust out of Spain by order of the authorities, together with all the rest of the inhabitants of this land of Moorish birth and sometime Mahometan religion. They were deemed an incorrigible source of potential subversion, swamping the country. Is that a phrase that makes sense to you? History will pronounce upon the justice of this. I myself will not criticize my king before strangers. So, what happens to Don Quixote arrived back amongst his family? Without the Arabian, I alone must decide. A third volume can never be completed by me. I am very far from well. I might even die within a year. If I leave Don Quixote alive, Lope de Vega or somebody else could once again steal my genius. Death, then, for Don Quixote. Death for a good man, a soldier, a gentleman, poor, but at peace with God.
My friends, my dear niece, my honest housekeeper. Sancho, are you there?
I'm here, your worship.
There are no knights errant, though we were all upon the pilgrim's road. We should travel it without fuss. I am in my right mind, though you know I have not always been. My mistake to go looking for new hatched birds in the leftover nests of last year. You know, I have learned Nunc dimittis Domine. Father Perez, please.
Nunc dimittis servum tuum Domine, secundum verbum...
His epitaph was made by Samson Carrasco.
A gallant and deluded fool, we said. We only knew his wisdom when he lay dead.
Antifaciem omnium populorum, lumen ad revelationem gentium et gloriam plebis tuae Israel.
In Part 2 of Don Quixote, adapted for radio by John Arden, the part of Don Quixote was played by Bob Grant. Bernard Cribbins was Sancho Panza, and Ronald Badley, Cervantes. Father Perez was David Sumner, Barber Surgeon, Peter Wheeler, Samson, Stephen Boxer, Antonia, Kate Lee, and a housekeeper, Kathleen Helm. The Duke was Russell Dixon, the Duchess, Judith Arthey, Teresa Panther, Paula Tilbrook, Altisidora, Harriet Walter, and the scholar, Malcolm Hebden. The puppet master was Ken Campbell, veiled lady, Anne Reed, and steward, John McGregor. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The music was composed by Stephen Boxer and played by Ian Gammy, Bill Nixon, Jane Ryan, Roderick Skeeping, John Turner, and Stephen Boxer. The play was directed in Manchester by Alfred Bradley.